Welcome all to episode 47 of the Megavisions Show, the companion podcast to Megavisions Magazine. It is August the 16th, 2020. I am Graham, the production editor of Megavisions Magazine. With me we have Scotty, the managing editor of Megavisions, and Chris, the editor-in-chief of Megavisions Magazine. How are you doing, fellas? Scotty, how's it going?
Great. I got plenty of stuff to talk about, let me tell you.
Whoa, what is all that stuff? Oh my god. Wow.
My pickup, sir. We'll get into it.
We'll get onto that in a second. Chris, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, that's short and sweet. Brilliant. Let's crack on with it. Scotty looks like he's eager to show us some stuff. So, Chris, why don't you tell us what you've been up to this week?
Graham's finally playing the asshole card.
Oh, that's hilarious. So, man, this week was crazy. We ended up doing for the Bloodsucking Geeks podcast. We were going to do a Candyman podcast, and we were going to do on Candyman 3 Day of the Dead. But I hadn't watched the other Candyman movies in forever. I've never seen Candyman 2, never seen Candyman 3, but I did watch the original Candyman when I was a kid. I absolutely loved it. So anyway, to get ready for the podcast, I felt like I had to watch all three of those movies. And I'll tell you what, the level of quality like that just dips as that trilogy goes through. It's bad. I think the first Candyman is one of the best horror movies of the 90s. And I'll talk about it a little bit more later. But that series did not finish well. Jordan Peele's going to be doing a new version of it, I think next year. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, but more to come. So just, watching a bunch of shitty old movies, it's what I do.
We could probably do a poll of how many people knew there was a Candyman 3.
I didn't know there was a 2.
You're not missing out.
I forget.
Okay. I haven't actually seen any of the Candyman movies at all. I know Candyman exists, but I'm not that well versed in horror, I have to admit.
The original one is well worth watching. It still holds up really, really well. I'm okay. I'll stop talking about it because I want to talk about it more.
Okay, cool. Anything else you've been up to? Any pickups or anything like that?
Yeah, I did get. I finally got Control in.
Woohoo!
So I think it's still installing though. So I haven't been able to play it yet. I just got it in yesterday. Put it in my Xbox about 2 or 3 hours ago, and it started installing. It was taking forever to install, and then it had another 30 gig update.
Oh wow!
So I was hoping I'd be able to get a little bit of time to play it before we jumped on the show, but just because it took so long, I haven't even got a chance to play it yet.
Okay.
Video games. Remember when you could put a game in, hit start, and you're playing it?
Yeah, the advantage of games consoles, just plug it in and play rather than PC installing it. Oh wait, that's all changed. Brilliant. Love it.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Scotty, bring it on. What have you got? What do you got to show us?
First, I'll mention this because it's a short explanation. Motion City Soundtrack released a kind of a little LP of 2 unreleased versions of 2 of their songs, but all the proceeds go to helping their whole tour team, like the crew, the stagehands, and all that. So, had to grab that because they're one of my favorite bands. But yesterday was Retro Hunting Day. So that's what I did. I had a couple things set aside for me at Warp Zone. But so I head out there, shout outs to Warp Zone. They always sponsor us for the Dreamcast Marathon. And then I'll show off what I grabbed for you, Graham. The classics such as Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool, and Sega Marine Fishing.
Woohoo! Yeah.
This is, oh man. Only the cool can rule. Oh, but there's, I don't know what that is. That's some random warning on the back. This thing even has its fun little epilepsy separate handout warning in the case. I don't know,
wow.
But you got the manual and the cartridge. So,
brilliant! Complete in box. Fantastic.
Complete in box. Same with Sega Marine Fishing. But what I grabbed, what was on hold for me. He got a good Sega haul in, and we're talking someone traded in Musha and other stuff.
Ooh, okay.
But I actually grabbed Krusty's Super Fun House, which is a fun, weird puzzle game.
I didn't even know that was on the Genesis. I remember that being on the SNES. What?
So it's I mean, you could equate it to like basically Lemmings, right?
Yeah.
But with rats that infested his factory. Some of it is difficult. But I
remember
love that basically to sell this, it says featuring The Simpsons and Bart is on it, but I don't think he's even in the game ever.
I think he appears in the background at some point or something. He's
oh, maybe he's
he might
like
appear a
pulling
couple of
levers or
times.
some
Yeah, I think he
crap.
pulls levers and in my head. It might be in a couple of little cutscenes or sequences, but yeah, he's not the character you play as at all or anything. But yeah, I remember being really difficult. My friend had it on the Super Nintendo. So yeah, I didn't even realize it was on the Genesis, unless it was in America,
I think it's
but
called
not
something different on the Genesis or something. I forget, but
Well, what's it called there?
Hmm?
Is it called Krusty's Super Funhouse or something?
This is Krusty's Super Funhouse. I think it's called.
I'm sure
It might be like The Simpsons presents Krusty's Super Funhouse or something dumb. I don't know. But anyway, other stuff I grabbed. I've all but given up trying to find complete versions of things on Sega CD because also you can get the big jewel cases, and Etsy does wonders for box art and crap. So I finally got Sewer Shark and Crime Patrol. Have you guys heard of Crime Patrol?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I played it or not.
Both wonderfully horrible FMV games,
Yes.
so I am very excited. There's, if I remember correctly, in Crime Patrol, there's a scene that ends with you trying to bust these drug lords, and you find the drugs in the trunk of a car, and the lieutenant or sergeant, whoever is with you, decides the best way to end this scene is to shoot the drugs. So it's bags of cocaine, and he just fires at them with an automatic gun, and there's just like dust everywhere. It's horrible and great at the same time. And then while I was walking around Warp Zone, I did find Art Alive, which I honestly solely bought that might be fun for a stream because it was Sega's answer to Mario Paint. It's just so goofy.
Succeed with that name.
Yeah. But you can have of course you can see Sonic in the background and whatever, but you can have like Toe Jam and Earl in here pop in and they just animate crap.
Sonic art game. Like, what were they thinking? Why?
I don't know. They're just as confused as this girl with a banana staring at a monkey like, ha, you did it again. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really weird.
On there. There should be Sonic, there should be Toe Jam and Earl, there should be Echo, Rystar. Like,
he's in it, yeah.
You should have done all that with that. I mean, if you threw all of those characters on the box, call it like Sonic's Art Party or something stupid like that. Just put Sonic in the name. It's in the 90s. It's on the Genesis. That thing would have been a success, especially if you're already going to have many of those characters in the game already. What were they thinking? That is just entirely stupid marketing. Sega, Tom Kalinske, Al Nilsson, you guys are on blast right now.
Can you hold that up again? Because that is the most 90s artwork I think I've ever seen.
It's great.
Anything. That's amazing.
I'll show you this real quick. I was very happy that it was complete because I do remember renting this thing forever ago. But it has animations, and it's got all the hits in here. 2 different birds, and then Sonic, and then Toe Jam walking. But do you want to try to describe the cover for our listeners, Graham?
Yeah. So okay. So any people born in like the 2000s or whatever, what we're looking at right now is the most 90s thing I've ever seen. It's got like bright colors for like Art Alive in big all caps. It's got
different
some
fonts for each word.
Yeah, different fonts. The kids are wearing bright colored t-shirts, like a blue, a pink, a green one, and like one of them's like holding a cartoon parrot in his hand. The girl's holding a banana with a monkey next to her, and it's like a big TV with a kid on the floor playing the game.
The game
really
is on the cover of the game.
Yeah, the game is on the cover, and the kid is kind of at an angle where there's no way he could actually play a game that way. He's like right next to the TV, looking like horizontally at it. But the colors,
meanwhile, his cat,
visuals,
the classic cat, like, what are you doing, kid?
Yeah, that's just
cat.
Wow, that is the 90s in a package there, right there.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's pretty great.
And I miss it.
It's
I miss it so
amazing.
much.
And I mean, to pull it all together, there's a skateboarder on the back.
Oh, of course, there has to be. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I was pretty excited. That alone, that game was just $8. I'm like, whatever. I know I'm gonna have some fun with this. I mean, if anything, it was worth this small segment. And let's see here. Oh, it lagged out for a second. You guys still there? Yeah, you're still there. So in the big stash of like Sega CD and Genesis stuff, this dude also traded in Dracula Unleashed. That's not how much I paid for it because no disc 1. only disc 2.
Oh no.
So since Carrie's awesome, he's like, "You just want it? I'm sure you'll find the first disc in your travels." I'm like, "Sure," because it's complete aside from the first disc. I can find the first disc. But that's another, I guess, FMV.
If you have to buy both discs, like disc-only versions of it, it'd still probably be worth buying it just so you can get.
Yeah. I mean, the first tagline on the top of this says the first interactive gothic horror movie. So yeah, I'm down.
That sounds pretty fun.
Guaranteed to please. And then, so I left Warp Zone and drove another hour and a half because nothing's close to anything in this stupid state. And I checked out this new place called crap. I forget it now. But that was Warp Zone in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Please, everybody, go to it. And I want to find
It's awesome.
name of this place so that I say it correctly. Come on, I was just there. Retro Gaming Asylum in Beaver, Pennsylvania. But my buddy Lee mentioned it to me randomly, and I was like, maybe I'll try to swing out there today. And it was after being at Warp Zone for like an hour and a half. I sit in my car and I look and it's like, oh, it's an hour and a half from here. Fuck it, let's just go. Let's just do this. So went out there. The guy's really nice. We were BSing about Saturn and stuff and different things. But I ended up walking out of there with two things. ESPN Extreme Games on PlayStation 1, which is a launch game in a giant long box jewel case. This was, I almost got, but since I had already did a good bit of shopping, I didn't get. They also had Twisted Metal in the bumper case long box, but that was like $40, which actually isn't a bad price for that launch game version. This is a fun, stupid racing game where you race on rollerblades, skateboards, street luges, and bikes.
That sounds cool.
It's insane, rush, charge, gnarly, pure juice, rage, energy, stoked, radical, and epic. Just a few words that describe extreme games.
And that's the most 90s way to phrase a game, I think, actually. That's amazing.
Yeah. Actually, I'll read the back real quick. Rip up courses on inline skates, shoot for max speed on the street luge, pull serious air on the skateboard, and shred courses on the mountain bike. Get ready to punch and kick your way through an entire season of extreme competition. Battle radical opponents on the most treacherous terrain found on the face of the earth. This is ESPN's Extreme Games. No kooks allowed.
Whoa!
I don't even know what a kook is. What is that?
I don't either. That might be a slur. I'm sorry. I don't think so. But
you should check that.
And then lastly,
I think it's like they're creepy and they're kooky, the Addams Family.
Oh yeah.
So maybe it's like when someone's a kook, they're kooky.
They're just nuts, yeah. And then lastly, PSP UMD hackers.
Zero cool.
No, wow.
I was just thinking about that movie yesterday for some reason.
Probably because I shared it on Instagram that I got the Blu-ray version.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, a kook is a mad or eccentric person. So there you go.
What a fucking nut jobs.
Yeah. It sounds like you do need to be a kook to play that game. So kook should be allowed.
I got a lot of crap. Yeah, probably.
That's an amazing haul you've got there, actually. That's pretty...
I was from leaving my house to go to the post office, and when I got home yesterday, I was gone for 7 hours.
Oh wow!
Doing all of that.
That is...
Yeah, I got an earful when I got home, but it was worth it.
Whoops.
Oh, you didn't even take Rachel with you?
Nah, she didn't want to go.
Well, I bet she regrets it now.
Sure. No, I do hope to. I do really want to play that ESPN game because I remember playing the hell out of that. Like you can like upgrade your rollerblades and crap, and it's just.
Ooh.
It's digitized graphics, so like Mortal Kombat stuff. So it's actual people models racing. So when they like bail out and stuff, it's hilarious. But so hopefully next week I'll have some feedback on how that game plays. But
aren't many games with rollerblades in them. I can think of 3 now. The game you just mentioned, Jet Set Radio, even though they're futuristic rollerblades, I guess, and Skitchin. I don't know if you remember that. It's basically, like Road Rash.
Rollerblade version of Road Rash. Yeah. Not as good as Road Rash, in my opinion. As good.
But I was really excited to play it, and I played it. I was like, it's okay.
I think
I did like how you can get on when you start skitching on a car. Like you hold onto the bumper, and you can like even punch people as you're doing that.
And then sometimes the cars break, so like they go, "Get off my car," sort of thing. Like, oh, you got it there.
Speaking of '90s box art, there it is.
Yeah, I think you can run into the back of a car if you're not careful.
Yeah, I remember. I think I always got hit by cars every time I tried to play that game. Yeah.
There's a really good movie that I think we should do a watch party on one of these days that's all about extreme rollerblading called Airborne. I've been trying to get Scotty to watch it with me for years.
For years?
For years. It's such a good movie. It has Jack Black, Seth Green. So many awesome actors are in this movie.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it before on the show. Actually. Yeah,
I know, but the world needs to. There needs to be more coverage of Airborne.
I'm interested. So let's do this one day. Sounds good to me.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool.
You'll love it.
So for me, Dreamcast...
Jesus! I forgot I got a Dreamcast Mouse too.
Oh, nice!
That fell off my stack. I'm debating giving this away in the marathon because it's hard to come by one of these things. We'll see.
Ooh, have you got one already? Or
I have one, and I used to have two. I stupidly gave one away to somebody. So I have two Dreamcast keyboards for typing of the dead, of course, and one Dreamcast mouse.
Okay.
So,
let's see how. If you're feeling very generous, that'd be lovely. But if you want to, keep it yourself. We'll see. Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, that is me. Go ahead, Graham.
Okay. So quick Dreamcast updates. There is no dongle. There is still no dongle.
Man,
still waiting on that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see what Chris.
I'm getting bored with the Dreamcast stuff,
what?
Graham. You gotta step up your game. Do something. Even if you're waiting on a dongle, there's got to be some other. Maybe get a replacement shell, like something super. I bet you could get like a super 90s like design, kind of like Art Alive. Get an Art Alive custom Dreamcast. That would be amazing. All pastel colors.
Oh wow, yeah.
Those two little bastards on, airbrushed on there.
And what looks like a squirrel on the back. What is that thing?
That's a big old. That's a dumb mouse.
Oh, okay. Maybe
I think that's your next step, Graham.
Maybe I can spray paint one myself. I could give it a try. Just do my own custom art. That could work.
Yeah,
sure.
That's the Megavisions one with.
Oh yeah, we could give that away on the Dreamcast.
The Mega.
We gave away Megavisions controllers before. TJ had that. That was a process, but hopefully the people that got them really dug them.
I hope so.
Wow. Okay, we'll have to look into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I could show you, if I keep talking. I'll find pictures of them. But yeah, go ahead and keep talking.
So no big updates. Although, if anyone watched or listened to the show last week, you'll know that basically Chris and Scotty convinced me to buy many things. So I got Advent Rising. And bought most of these actually during the show last week, but I bought Advent Rising on Steam, which Chris and I actually did a live stream of on our Twitch channel last Friday. And
it started to be a shit show.
It
was really bad.
But I think it pulled itself together. Don't you agree? I think it was pretty fun.
But for like the first time in ever, Graham and I decided, okay, the day before, let's sit down and work through all the kinks. And we spent a good hour and a half, like just working through the layout, making sure everything was set up and ready to go. What we didn't actually do, though, is play the game to make sure it was going to run well on Graham's computer.
So, so we actually originally tested Streets of Rage 4 on my Xbox One. That worked beautifully, because in my head, I thought we were going to be playing Streets of Rage. But then Chris was like, why didn't you play Advent Rising? And we wanted to see you play it. I'm like, okay, I can do that. It shouldn't be that difficult. And then, yeah, it turns out me getting the Steam set up, and then also finding out the game doesn't really work properly with controllers, even though it says it is compatible with controllers. Because
it works fine for me. I did not experience the same problems.
Okay, yeah. Well, I had problems where like basically my controls were mapped weirdly. So pressing the second analog stick was like my attack button. So like at the start you get into like a little fight, and Chris like just
press it in like what would be
R3.
Clicking
clicking like R3, yeah. And I was just like, it's not. I was trying to press X and B, like one of them maybe dive forward. I kept diving at the enemies, and Chris was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I can't punch." I was pressing all the buttons, and then randomly pressed that one. I just hit them. I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "That's really weird. I'll change the control." So I went to the control mapping, changed that, and suddenly the camera was just like, "Woo, woo, woo, woo," like spinning around. I'm like, okay.
It actually ended up being a pretty fun stream, and we finally got it fixed.
Yeah, basically I had to exit the game, restart it all, and not have the controller plugged in at all, and use my keyboard, because I could try and use the keyboard and mouse with the controller plugged in, but the camera still kept rotating. So anyway, we fixed it. We played the opening level of the game, and I think it worked out pretty well. And I think the people watching had fun as well, because there was good people in the chat like talking about it and stuff. So that was fun. We hope to pick it up on our next stream.
You ended up liking the game too, right?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I see what you mean about how there are similarities to Halo. The first-person mode makes it so much easier to attack enemies, I have to admit. And I love dual wielding the guns.
Cool. I don't think you had a lot of games during that era where you could switch between like third and first person, view. Like just
I remember Fallout 3 being the first one that introduced me to that, and it was horrible in third person view. But
Morrowind you could do, but I mean, it's different type of game. But yeah, that was on the original Xbox.
Yeah, that was on that gen. Okay.
Yeah, there weren't many games at all, like maybe a handful. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's still not many games today that really do that. But I'm really enjoying it. I also did buy. In my head, I think I bought Bite the Bullet on the Xbox. Did I do that, Chris? Am I going crazy? Did you tell me to buy Bite the Bullet on Xbox?
I did tell you to buy Bite the Bullet.
Yes, and I bought it because I actually remember buying it. But then I was like, did I buy it on Xbox or Steam? But anyway, so I can't even remember what games I bought. And I also, just like Chris, have Control on Xbox One now. But I'm going to talk more about that later in the show.
I did find pictures of the controllers. Let me share my screen real quick.
Bring it up if you can. For the audio listeners, there's some really cool. Those are really cool, actually. Wow. So what is the one on the left? I actually don't know what the one on the left is. Though.
There you go.
Ah, cool. Do you want to describe what they are to the audio listeners there? Like what you're looking at?
So there's two Dreamcast controllers. TJ Kitsune got these done by someone who does custom paint jobs on consoles and stuff. One of them, it's kind of a gold yellow, almost a dandelion or a mustard. The body of the controller, the face of the controller is that, and they took off the Dreamcast swirl and logo on the fronts, but the one that's gold, it has a skull with wings coming out the sides, and then the face buttons and the D-pad and the start button are all sprayed black. And then the back of that one is just all gold, and it says Megavision's our old logo when we were all digital. Oh, and actually I just noticed the wings go on to almost where the trigger buttons are. And then the other one is white still, but it has I don't know what you would call that. It's like some weird, almost hieroglyphics or like Aztec looking writing. Still face buttons, D-pad, start button are all black. The lower part of the controller, kind of just where your hands don't touch, but just around the start button is black, and then there's side swirlies, and then the other side is just the Megavision's logo on the back. But yeah, we gave those out one year for the marathon. The
white one reminds me, the symbols kind of remind me of stuff from like Lost Winds, or maybe even like Zelda or something. It's getting a Lost Winds vibe to me.
Sure.
And the one on the right, the gold one with the skull with the wings, really reminds me of Skies of Arcadia, but I've just double checked and it's not the same logo. But it kind of really reminded me of Skies of Arcadia. That's cool. That looks really awesome. Nice.
Yeah, so good stuff.
Excellent. So
that's all.
So yeah, I think that ends our intro. So let's have a quick bathroom break and we'll be right back.
What's up, guys? We are on Twitch 3 days a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. What is the internet? But if you go to twitch.tv/Megavisions, Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, you will see us playing everything from Phantasy Star Online 2 to Anarchy Reigns on our Thursday night throwdowns, which we do also invite the community into. And we have coming up on there to be hosted on Twitch is the 24-hour Dreamless Dreamcast Marathon on September 12th. Mark your calendars, but otherwise check us out any day throughout the week. Keep an eye on twitch.tv/Megavision.
Sack of Wonder!
Welcome back, everybody, and we're now moving on to Scotty Moe's Sack of Wonder.
Sack of Wonder!
Got it. Yep, let's unfasten this beast. Get it out, get that stuff out of the way there, and here we go. We got EJ coming to us from the Discord. Is there any chance that Sega would consider making a Master System mini console? I'm gonna say right now, as we're standing, no. But depending on where the Game Gear and Astro City and other like nostalgia's all the rage still, so there could be some crazy off the wall demand for it. Right now, I think no. Graham, what do you think?
I'm going to say no, but yeah, I really wish they would. I'd love them to do maybe even a Master System / Game Gear mini console, like a all-in-one sort of thing, because they had games that were the same on both consoles. I think the Master System had slightly bigger sprites, but the Game Gear had better colors and stuff. But yeah, I think
yes, yeah, you're right, because that's why they couldn't do an adapter for Game Gear games, I think, to play on the Master System, because the Master System didn't output as many colors as the Game Gear. I think it was
something like that.
Because I remember the power base converter. You played Master System games on the Genesis, right? Is that what that did?
Yeah, and you could also play Master System games on the Game Gear with one of them as well. I've actually got it.
Oh yeah, that weird thing that like screwed onto the cartridge input somehow or something.
I might quickly grab it. It's on my shelf. One sec.
Do it. Do you think it's possible, Chris, that would ever happen? The Master System Mini.
I don't think Sega would create its own like mini console like we got with like the Genesis. I don't think we'd get something like this. But what I think would be kind of neat is like imagine if they basically made like a USB Master System Mini where it was literally the size of a USB stick, right? And it would just plug in to your TV's HDMI port and would be powered on that way. And then it would also be Bluetooth, so you'd have to use Bluetooth controllers so you could be able to sync your like PS4, your Xbox One controllers to it, and you could play it that way. That way, like they could sell it for like $20 or something, super, super cheap online or whatever. I think, just running it right off a chip, like right there, and not have an actual like big unit where it would be a bigger investment to do something like this. Because let's be honest, the Genesis is Sega's most successful system of all time. That's why it made commercial sense for them to release this. But the Master System, in large part, was a massive failure. It didn't sell well. It had a very small market share. I know that it was more popular in Europe, Graham. I know that, but I'm saying worldwide, it was not a success. Like it had a single digit, hold on the, I forget like a market share, during that time. So I don't think a physical like product like this would be a commercial success. At least on a large scale where we would see it like at retail and things like that. Maybe,
but I feel like the beauty of the micro consoles is that they are miniature versions of the original console. I feel like the USB stick thing makes sense from like a commercial standpoint in that yes, it'll be cheaper for them to make, but I'm not sure how many people would actually buy that compared to actually having a physical little unit that actually looks like a mini Master System, because that's part of the appeal. Part of the appeal is actually, look at this.
But you could still make the case of the thing look like a mini Master System. You could still make it look like a Master System. It would be shaped, and you could keep it on your keychain and just take it with you wherever you go.
That would be an appeal if it was like in the shape of a Master System. Or you could put it on a keychain, like take your retro games with you anywhere, sort of thing. I think
and
really
imagine
cool.
just like you go anywhere and any monitor with the HDMI, you could plug it in, and maybe it could even sync to your phone, where you could control the menu with your phone, and you have your own like virtual D-pad. I think something like that would be kind of cool because you could take it with you wherever you go, and just plug it in. Like, hey, let's play some Master System games.
They should make a little handheld Game Gear Mini that can play Master System games. That's what they should do.
The micro.
Speaking of Game Gear,
I don't think that. Yeah, I was just going to say taking away the shell of the console itself takes away from the mass appeal, because the mini, the classics, whatever, like those appeal to the every man and woman, every person, because they look like that thing. But people like us and in our circles, we know that's just a Raspberry Pi in there that is essentially the size smaller than a flash drive, but the laymen don't know that, so they're like, I like this thing that looks like this thing I remember. I love this thing still. So that's
I imagine the product that I was talking about being in one of those like impossibly to open plastic clamshell looking cases where
there's no screws on it, like Apple design.
You have to use some scissors and it becomes this like sharp instrument of death that you can slice your hands on. But those would be like right up there, like at Target and Walmart with all the other retro stuff. You know, it's like, oh, buy this, mini keychain, and you could even do a Genesis one. You know, you could do that. That would sell $1 billion, I'm sure. $20, $15.
What did you find, Graham?
So, sorry, I've just been messing around. I've got my Game Gear, which I haven't actually played in years. I'm not sure if it still works, to be honest. I have Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System, which I think it's not complete in box, but I actually have like 3 copies of this, so I think one of them is complete in box.
Dude, you need to check the labels on that, because some of those are worth some bank.
Really? Oh, okay. I will do.
Yes.
That. And then I have my little... It's called a Gear Master, which you plug into your Game Gear.
Oh my god!
And then you can plug in. Oh, am I doing this the right way around? I'm going to break it. Okay, cool. So the game actually has to be facing where the screen is. So yeah, and that's it. But I don't have batteries in this, so I can't play it. I can't.
I was going to say, open up before you turn that on. Maybe open up the battery pockets to make sure there's not acid everywhere.
Yeah, no, they're actually they're clean. It's okay. I think I took the batteries out to make sure that wouldn't happen, because that happens to be one of my old Game Gears. So yeah.
That happened to me with my Nomad with the battery pack that comes with the Nomad. That thing's messed up.
Yeah, I
gotta severely clean it.
I don't have a battery pack with my Nomad. You have to plug it in.
It didn't come with one, because that's a good idea.
Yeah, this portable handheld, which you need to plug in unless you buy something extra. Brilliant.
So let's say Sega did end up making some sort of thing like this. What do you think are like the top games that you would want to see on it to answer?
Funny you should ask that, because Cernix asks that. What games would you like to see on it? I'd like to see a Zillion more than anything. The first Zillion was pretty good, and there's not too many exclusives on the Master System. You'd get the Alex Kidd games, I guess, the Sonic games, but one that I definitely think of is Zillion. First one that comes to my mind.
What other good like 2-player games were there on the Master System?
Oh boy, were there many even?
I don't know.
Because that was like where they started to try to bring arcade games to it.
Right.
Let's see here.
They have Golden Axe on it. Is that 2-player though?
I don't know.
Don't they have Golden Axe on the Master System?
They have it on, or Golden Axe Warrior is on it. Alien Syndrome is on it.
Streets of Rage, don't they?
They have Streets of Rage. Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, you'd have to put Streets of Rage on that.
Yeah, I've got a few, but I don't think any of them actually made by Sega. We've got Rastan. That's a great game.
Yeah, that is great.
Apparently Bubble Bobble.
Oh yeah, Bubble Bobble. I've actually got Bubble Bobble.
I found a literal top 10 Sega Master System co-op games list.
Ooh, okay.
So let's see what's on here. What do you got there, Graham, though?
So I've got... This is Chuck Rock 2, but either Chuck Rock or Chuck Rock 2. Those were great games back in the day. Donald Duck's Lucky Dime Caper. That was a great platform game. It's such a fun game.
I think that was on Game Gear, wasn't it?
That was also on Game Gear.
Donald Duck was.
Keeping with the Disney theme, Castle of Illusion on the Game Gear. It's different to the Genesis or Mega Drive version. I really like it. Jungle Book, also a fun game. And Master of Darkness, which I believe Chris knows very well. Or do you?
I was going to say, yes, of course. I love that game.
Good.
I still say that I think in many ways it's better than Castlevania 2, which it was heavily based on. So this was in an era where Nintendo was using these like very predatory and aggressive basically business dealings where they were trying to strong arm Sega out of retail space. So they basically told some retailers like, hey, if you not retailers, but publishers of games. So they were saying like, if you're going to publish games on the Nintendo, you're not allowed to publish them on any other system, meaning they couldn't come on the Master System and eventually the Genesis with some stuff, but it eventually opened up. But anyway, at that time, so Sega, what they ended up having to do is they had to develop in-house games that were very similar to super popular games that were on the NES. So that's why you see Master of Darkness, which is essentially a Castlevania clone, but they wanted to be able to have basically something that could compete with this popular or game on their competition system. So I think Master of Darkness does a lot of things really cool, and I actually really, really like it.
That explains Golden Axe Warrior being like frame for frame the first Zelda in some areas.
Yeah. So if there's one, to answer our next question, let's just say if there's one game you would want to see on this, what would it be?
I'd say Zillion. I like Zillion.
Okay, Graham.
I mean, I've just named all those games that I really love, but I actually might go for Sonic 2 or the Master System version of Sonic 2 because I actually really like that. It's really tough. It's actually one of the toughest Sonic games out there, if anyone's played it. It's the same as the Game Gear version, but yeah, very difficult, very fun, very different as well.
I'm going to go with Shining Force Sword of Hyjah because that's a really good Shining Force game, and I think you need some sort of strategy RPG to round out the library on this thing. But the more I talk about it, the more I'm talking myself into wanting one of these things.
Let's do it. Let's keep on, Sega. Come on.
I'm sure we can license the Master System. I meance Sega don't care about that, right?
Yeah, it's probably not worth much.
Nah,
Come on. Yeah.
Not at all.
I'm sure we could buy the Shining Force Sword of Hyjah license for like $12.
Yeah. We already got ShiningForce4.com registered, so let's talk to Sketch again, and we'll be good with that.
Oh yeah.
Talk to him about that site again. Yeah, I guess some of these top 10 co-op Master System games, it says like Rambo, Time Soldiers, Gauntlet, I guess was on there. Double Hawk, whatever that is, Super Space Invaders, Rampage, Miss Pac-Man, Bubble Bobble, Quartet, and then Double Dragon.
Oh, Quartet was a great game.
Quartet was a fun game. Yeah. Wasn't that arcade game where you used like little dials to like fly around? You were like you were in like space suits. Is that what? Am I thinking of a different game?
You were.
I think that's it.
You are in there. People like running around.
You're turning into a robot. Careful when you open something.
That's not good. You're like a girl and a guy running around with guns, kind of like in a bubble style environment. Just a single screen with platforms. Yeah. There was a really good ninja game which I can't remember what it's called, but it was really tough. On the Master System, which is exclusive. I can't remember what it is now.
Kinsidon?
No, it's probably. I think it's called like something just like Ninja.
At first glance, this looks like Joust, but I don't think it is. Quartet, I mean.
Yeah, there's like you're shooting around, but I think because I played the arcade at Fun Spot a few years ago when I went there, and you have this like little metal dial from what I remember, and there's buttons, but the dial is like allows you a really smooth kind of control of your motion and stuff. If I'm remembering correct, I could be completely off base, but
okay. The game I'm thinking of is called The Ninja, and is a 2-player game. But I think it's
the one that just has him throwing a shuriken on the cover.
Yes, basically, it's a really basic cover of the Ninja, and there's like a picture of a ninja in the corner with a shuriken like flying out.
I don't know how we made it this far without mentioning how phenomenally bad the Master System box art was for most games.
Yeah,
especially the wrestling one where the guy has his own head in a headlock and he's decapitated or something.
Oh yeah. Oh wow! Yeah, they got
just
better,
literally type. Just everyone listening, Google Master System box art, and it's gold, pure gold. But that's going to do it for the mail sack, unless you get ourselves into a new mini console.
Yep. Who would have thought?
We're gonna sack it. We're gonna seal the sack. I try to do this close to the mic to get the sound, but it just looks awkward and it's not going to play. I can't even do it. All right, let's hear that click. There we go. That's it. There's just one because I'm tired of dealing with it.
So, as always, we're going to pick something from the news that we like from gaming, world of movies, TV shows. Shall I kick it off this week, chaps? What do you think?
Go for it.
Do it.
Awesome. So this one came out actually this week. Everything's come out this week, basically. But sorry. So this is actually Scotty just mentioned this to me at the start of the show because I actually didn't know about this. So what a twist. So breaking news, sort of, for me. Halo Infinite is delayed. And so studio head Chris Lee has said that The decision to shift our release is the result of multiple factors that have contributed to development challenges, including ongoing COVID-related impacts affecting us all this year. I want to acknowledge the hard work from a team at 343 Industries who have remained committed to making a great game and finding solutions to development challenges. However, it is not sustainable for the well-being of our team or the overall success of the game for it to ship this holiday. And the interesting thing about this is, so it looks like it's being pushed back to 2021. It looks like when the Xbox Series X launches is this year in November, it looks like a November release, it won't have any first-party software, apparently, from one of the articles I was reading. So that's probably a first ever, I think. I've never heard of a games console being released where the manufacturer of the games console hasn't got any of its own games on there. That's incredible. But what do you guys think quickly? Like, do you guys care about this? Are you happy it's been delaunched or delayed? Are you happy the launch has been delayed? Delaunched. Brilliant. That's a new word.
I think they made the smart decision here. It's tough, man, because Halo Infinite was going to be huge for Microsoft, like early into the life of the Xbox. I would say, man, Microsoft should be launching every system with a Halo game. It's equivalent to Nintendo's Mario. Mario should not be launching a system unless it has a Mario or a Zelda to lead off it with. And I think this is what Xbox has, and Halo still is a huge game in the video game industry. And to now delay this into the following year, and now, I mean, really, what are you going to have exclusive on the Xbox day one when you've got Sony? I'm sure Sony's going to have some pretty big first party games, ready to come right out of the gate. And
I think right now they have Miles Morales, the Spider-Man.
That's big.
Which is that's what it's called. And crap, what is that one called that's not Little Big Planet, but you're a little robot? And Astrobot.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have stuff, but this is like they started that last conference with Halo Infinite. So you know that this was not even in anyone's mind before that conference. Otherwise, reverse this. If they had said Halo's going to be delayed, but then still even start the show with Halo, that would have been better than this. But this is I would bet money that this is reactionary. Like they didn't. Question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a reaction due to the criticism that came out after them showing off? They're like, look, guys, we got to go back and fix this stuff. We're not going to be able to do this.
So yeah, I was going to mention that some of the news sites I was actually looking at have speculated that could be it, that they had such a bad sort of negative reaction to screenshots and some of the gameplay footage shown, and mostly around the visuals and stuff, that they are thinking about delaying it for one of those reasons. I think the COVID thing could be a legitimate thing because that has really affected a lot of games around the world, not just in the gaming industry, but everywhere. But yeah, I think that could be a big thing about this. If it is, to be honest, I'd rather they clean up the game and make it as good as possible when they come to launch. So for me, yeah, as long as it's not being delayed by like 2 years. They haven't really announced when it will come out, but yeah, if it's early next year, that's not a big deal.
Well, wow, I had a thought and it's gone now.
I was going to say I think this is the right decision, no matter what. Like I was saying though, that you have to have a Halo game at launch. I think the worst thing you can do is have a bad Halo game at launch, and I think that would have been more damaging to Microsoft than going forth and saying like, "Hey, we have to have a Halo game. I don't care if it's going to underperform, whatever. We need that to go against Microsoft or go against Sony." I think a lot of executives would have made that, and I think a lot of people probably in past Microsoft leadership would have went that way. So I got to hand it to them that they made this call, because this is super ballsy. This is going to hurt Microsoft in the pockets. I guarantee you this impacts their projection numbers for what they're going to sell over the maybe first quarter of the Xbox. It doesn't matter. Xbox is going to sell out at launch. Like that's going to happen no matter what. All new consoles sell out at launch. That's just what happens these days with Sony
Were you there for the PS3?
No, I'm talking about the PS4.
Oh, you mean current gen?
Like, yeah, I mean, Nintendo still can hardly keep the Switch on the shelves. This stuff it's not just sitting on store shelves anymore. Yeah. And when it launches a new generation, everyone buys it, regardless of if they have a killer, app on the system. But what's going to happen is like what happens after holiday when when we're into the first couple of months of 2021. What are they going to have like January, February, March, while the PS5 maybe having some more heavy hitters come. So I'm interested. I think Xbox will be fine. I think it'll be fine over the long run, but I think this will hurt them. In the first 6 months or so of the Xbox One Series X or Xbox Series X, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, people were speculating that like the system was going to get a delayed launch because this game. Because I mean, but a lot of it is like, oh, what's coming out on the Xbox? Halo and this other stuff was kind of how that press conference went too. Like we've got Halo and this other stuff, so it is going to hurt them for sure. I think that who? Oh my God! Metal Gear Solid, Death Stranding. What the hell is his name?
Kojima.
Yeah, didn't Kojima say like a delayed launch? You don't remember a delayed game. You remember a poorly launched game or something like that.
I thought that was the Nintendo.
Miyamoto. Maybe it was Miyamoto.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
But that's 100% true because I still talk about it. Street Fighter V's launch, where it was just not a complete game, and it was one of the sloppiest things in the world that they tried to push out before the Capcom Cup tournament thingy. And like, it's okay now, but you don't do that. Yeah, you don't launch an incomplete game. We could run down the list of examples of when
but I mean,
game devs did that. But
one jumped into my head just very quickly about this, and it wasn't necessarily an incomplete game, but it was one with full of bugs, which was Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. That had it was like, just regardless of the storyline, some people like the storyline, people don't. That had so many bugs and problems with it. That's actually affected the whole franchise since then. That whenever a new Sonic game comes out, people are like really negative about it, or they're really speculating is this going to be a good game. If it's not perfect, it suffers really badly. Like some of the Sonic games that come out are actually really fun. I mean, Sonic Boom's not a good game, but
no, I was saying like that's another example of like, I mean, that went through dev hell and things so far out of their control. But then by the time it came out, it's like, why'd you even release this?
Yeah, But yeah, it's just there's been some Sonic games which I think have actually been very fun. Maybe not amazing, but very fun. But they've just been suffered because of what's happened in the past. So. Yeah, if they were to release Halo really badly, people would probably switch off from the franchise and be like, this isn't that good. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I think, like people like us, like we're patient. We don't have to have. I'm not gonna get the console at launch day at all. But I'm not getting any console on launch day. But we are not going to be. Also, what is time right now? Like, November is a month and a half, or wait, I can't do math.
2.5. It's
2.5 months away, but in quarantine time, that's 10 years, but it's also 3 weeks. So, like, who cares? Not who cares, but like, it's not going to be as detrimental for us as it might be for someone else who's like saving up and waiting for this pre-order to like throw their money at the Amazon screen or something,
Yeah, well. For me, because I very rarely buy consoles at launch. I think the Dreamcast was the last system I bought at launch.
Right.
And this was going to be a console I was considering buying at launch, partly because of Halo, because I love Halo, and I thought I'm really excited for this new type of Halo. This might put me off buying at launch, which in the long run could be better for me, because hopefully after launch it'll go down maybe a little bit in price. I don't know. But we'll see. If there are good games on there, I may get it at launch still. But I've been.
Did we mention we don't have the launch date leak in any of our news here, right?
Oh, we don't, do we? Ooh.
I don't think so. So, I mean, we'll mention it real quick because it's nothing confirmed, but the Yakuza, most recent Yakuza game is supposed to be a launch game with a new Xbox console, and that has a release date of November 13th, so pretty hardcore speculating that that's going to be when the console launches. Right after Election Day, folks, it's going to be a hot month.
And it was, that would be a Friday, and Microsoft actually released the Xbox One on a Friday as well. The original Xbox, I think Xbox 360 was released on a Tuesday worldwide.
Okay.
But So there is some precedent to say that they have some Friday releases. So we'll see.
Awesome.
There's no Halo Tuesday this year.
No.
Sonic Tuesday, Halo Tuesday. Haha, I did it.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, I guess that brings us to the end of that bit of news. And let's move on with Chris with your one, please.
Okay. So as you guys know, I mean, theaters for, at least in America, have been completely shut down. You guys can't go to
Except
theaters.
for California, apparently.
Oh, is that right? That they're allowing
Really?
Yeah.
indoor theaters to be open?
I just remember hearing recently that I just mentioned what is time right now, but recently it was saying like California is going to start closing theaters. This was a couple weeks ago. I'm like, gonna start?
Oh,
So-
wow. That's crazy. Well, I mean, nationwide for the most part, all theaters have been shut down since, like probably March or something. So it's basically meant the movie industry stopped releasing, movies. There's been some of the smaller movies that have made its way to the streaming and things like that. But now theaters are going to start opening back up, basically beginning on August 20th. For all the states that are allowing it, AMC is going to open their theaters. Regal is going to be doing it the following day on August 21st. But what's kind of interesting about AMC, they're going to be opening more than theaters at 100 locations, and the admission prices for that first day is going to be 15 cents per ticket for the first day. It's basically to try to celebrate, I guess, their centennial celebration, because it was started back in the 1920s, and this was about the same price that moviegoers back in 1920 were paying.
Interesting.
I think this is interesting because you're essentially going to see a free movie. You and your significant other, even me and all my kids, it would be like $1.
The real question is, how much is the popcorn?
That's a good point.
$20 of popcorn.
Charge.
So, but I think what this is doing, I think this is a smart marketing tactic here, guys, because what the biggest thing, the biggest concern or the biggest hurdle that movie theaters have to overcome right now is how can we gain the trust back from moviegoers that it's safe, because now we're slowly going back where we could do outside dining now, and then some places are allowing some inside dining, but going inside a theater where you're basically in a big enclosed room with a bunch of other people, a lot of people aren't comfortable with that right now. But if you're basically saying like, hey, come see what we've done and see how safe we've made it, and you just have to pay 15 cents a ticket and you can get in, that's going to make people want to come back to theaters and to say, hey, let me give it a shot. It's basically a free movie I can go see, and I could go hang out, for a few hours at the movie theater, and I want to get back to watching those. So I think it's smart marketing, and I'm really excited to kind of see what, they report back numbers wise.
Yeah. I'm actually wondering, do you reckon they had this idea for this promotion before the whole pandemic started? Because
no way.
Which, as you say, like the 15-cent thing to mark the centennial, that's how much they used to pay back in 100 years ago. That's something that other companies have done in the past. Like for one day, they'll be like, we're 100 years old. This is what people used to pay that price today. So, I mean, it could just be a reaction to the COVID to get people back in. But I'm wondering if they had an idea like that or something.
So they may have these. I will say that the throwback ticket prices only apply to like these, what they're calling legacy movies. So these aren't like brand new movies
okay.
that they're doing, because they would be taking a massive loss, because the movie studios aren't going to be down for, like, you're not going to show a Tenet for 15 cents a ticket. That's not going to happen unless the movie theater chains themselves were fronting the cost of that, and that's not going to happen. And so what they're able to do is, Black Panther, Empire Strikes Back, these movies, they can license these out and air that, and then take that loss, because the cost of licensing those movies compared to like first run straight, from the studio movies, is minuscule compared to,
Right.
getting Tenet out there. So I think that's why you see this. So to answer your question, Graham, it very well may have been part of their plan all along, but they're saying like, hey, let's start this during, when we're allowed to reopen for COVID.
Yeah.
And I think that's a smart move on their part. So
yeah, it might have been like a plan B or like a plan F for the 15-cent thing, but now they're like, oh, let's do that, because otherwise, what the hell? Have they said how much they're going to allow filling the theaters, like what percentage or anything?
That's going to be based on state to state, and even maybe county to county.
Wow.
Because AMC, obviously there's no federal policy on how the states are handling that, because that's been the big thing, at least in America. Graham, I don't know if you are aware, but a lot of the state governors were fighting and bickering with Trump, especially like the Democratic state governors, so like New Jersey, New York, and everything, especially them. And so Trump has basically allowed the states to manage each of their policies like within the state itself. And that's, that's why we have governors. And so it's going to be interesting to answer your question, Scotty. I think it's going to be dependent on just the different states and stuff. Maybe Graham asked that question. I can't remember, but
I just don't get how you would fully authoritize that. Is that a word? Because like, having worked in a movie theater, it's hard enough to tell stupid teenagers to shut the fuck up while the movie's playing, let alone physically keep people from each other. Especially just, I got to go to the bathroom, so now I got to walk past like these three families.
Right. I think what they'll probably do is, I would imagine not sitting more than 3 groups of people in a row, and then you're obviously skipping rows and stuff. So they're going to have chairs marked off where you can't sit on them, and this is like specific chairs, and you have to buy.
Yeah, I'm sure. We've all been to theaters where like there's maybe been a leak or a broken chair, and they just literally put a trash bag and tape it to the chair. So I guess that's how they would prevent people from sitting in certain seats or something like that. I don't think this is a good idea, but I can understand where they're coming from in terms of the economy and money. But oh boy, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think there comes a time where these businesses can't just get by and wait, like there's like there has to be a compromise. And I know that's one of the big political issues going on right now in our country.
Did you guys see, sort of in relation to this, and I don't mean to get tangential, but you know how Onward, Disney's latest Pixar joint, that released, it was going to release in theaters, and then quarantine and pandemic happened, and then they just put it on Disney Plus. The upcoming Mulan movie, not going to be in theaters, obviously, but you can pay $30 to watch it. Yeah, so it's like, and Rachel was telling me about
like
that.
Disney Premiere or something like
that.
They have like
some
a new name.
Total bullshit. It's amazing, because it's like, Onward, they did what they did because like this movie is done. We have marketed this. We have to release this so that people will buy shit around it and stuff. And so it was kind of an emergency thing with the emergency going on. Just throw it on a Disney Plus, whatever. People are already paying money for that. But now it's like, oh, this isn't coming out to theaters, so we're going to have people buy it. Like, okay, Disney, you don't need more money, A, and B, $30? Even if you're like a family, even if it's like Chris's family, if it's like 7 people sitting down, yeah, $30 is an okay price for a ticket, I guess. But like me and Rachel, like $30 for just the 2 of us to watch that, that's more than we would have paid to actually physically go to the theater.
Do you get access if you get access to watch that as much as you like, as long as you got Disney Plus, or is it a one-off payment for like an evening or something, like a weekend? Like you can rent movies for like 48 hours.
I can see if I can find out real quick. Bear with me.
I know that a lot of the movie companies are trying to essentially like market it as like, hey, like you're saving money, because if you and all your family came out to the theater, you'd be paying more than this. So $30, it's less than what you would be paying. But the thing is, though, is that it's also a night out or a day out with your family.
Yeah.
You're getting out of the house, you're going to go do something.
Right.
So part of the cost that you're willing to pay more for, to see this movie, for the experience. You're getting out, you're going to the theater. It's a much bigger screen. The sound is way better. There's popcorn, there's soda. And so it's an experience, and that's why people like going to the movie theater. Sitting in your living room, paying $30 for a movie when there's literally like almost limitless movies streaming that you could do for free. I don't that I'm not on board with that. I'm not going to be paying those kind of premium fees to stream a damn movie from my house. You know what that does? That tells me that, like that policy right there is going to bring back piracy in a huge way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's
Right.
because I feel like Netflix and stuff has kind of not exactly ended piracy, but it's really brought it down a lot because it's so easy to access and it's affordable. It's an affordable price. Like, yeah, I don't need to go to some dodgy site where I could get a virus and take ages to download a movie. I can, or do a dodgy stream with adverts popping up. I can pay, $6 or £7 or whatever it is to watch all these hundreds of movies,
Okay, so I have it here.
Cool.
So it's set to premiere on Disney Plus on September 4th. It comes with the hefty price tag of $30. This is on The Verge. In reality, for non-Disney Plus subscribers who want to watch the studio's live-action adaptation of Mulan, it's actually going to cost $37 because it's $7 a month for Disney Plus.
Oh, wow.
So if you have to have Disney Plus to watch this first. So, and then it was saying here, if you get Mulan, so you're buying Mulan and you're downloading it, but if you cancel Disney Plus, you won't have Mulan anymore either because you have to have that to watch it. So it's hot trash all over the place.
I could see them if they say like, "Hey, if you sign up for a year subscription to Disney Plus, we'll give you Mulan free." That's how you boost some subscription numbers right there. You keep them for a year. It's not like it's just a month or 2 months. Like, you sign these bastards up for a whole year at whatever, it's like $6 a month. That's $60 right there that you get up front. And throw Mulan because
they should do it the other way. They should say $30 to buy this movie or something for people who aren't on Disney Plus, for example. And if you're on Disney Plus, you get it free. That would bring people to have subscriptions, or do them the year subscription thing, like to get them on board for the subscription. But if you don't have Disney Plus, we're going to charge you a bloody fortune. But if you've got Disney Plus, maybe if Disney Plus have like a massive discount, like $5 or something.
Anything,
like I think that's ridiculous. That's such a bad. People will probably buy it, like people with families or really want to watch it for whatever reason. But I don't know. Like I enjoyed the old Mulan a lot, but I don't think this is not one of those Disney movies. I think, I really got to see the live action version, considering most of the live action versions haven't been that great. Let's face it. I've enjoyed some of them, but. Yeah, Lion King. What the hell was Lion King?
It was not a live-action movie, for one.
Don't get me started on Lion King.
But they like to call it that. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it does go on to mention here how movies like Scoob, Rise of Skywalker, Trolls World Tour, those all went for $20. But this is crazy.
Rise of Skywalker went for $20. What?
It's I know Chris rented it too. Scoob, you could just rent it for $20 the premiere weekend or whatever. We watched it opening weekend. Yeah, and we didn't.
I should say, like, I do see. I do think that there is something going for the studios here. Like, I think you can charge people a premium price for these movies that are basically brand new. Like, I don't expect that I'm spending $4 on Amazon to stream, like a Bloodsport or whatever, versus Tenet, or I can see paying for a premium price, but when you're talking $30 compared to 15 or 20, it's at that point it's the scale is way off there. I was fine paying $20 to watch Scoob because my kids were super excited for it, but man, I'm not paying $30 for fucking a shitty version of Mulan.
With Scoob, did you get to sort of keep it and watch it, or is it like a rental for like a weekend or something?
I want to say it's you buy it basically.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
Purchase price to stream it. But I also bought it on 4K.
But I would happily rent a movie for a weekend for like £5 or $5 or something. Like if it's that price, I'm like, that's like. That would be like, a large soda or something at the cinema or whatever it is.
I think what it was, Graham,
just to rent it.
It was $20 to rent, and I think $25 to own it. Okay. It was a little bit more. And so at that point, I'm just like, if I pay an extra $5 and I can just keep it, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a bit jacked up what they're trying to do there. I think there's
This
better
is like
ways to do it.
Nintendo level of we're dipping our toes into this new idea that everybody's been into for years, and we clearly have no fucking clue what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's an example of just how I do think the movie industry's come a long way to try to keep up with the evolving technologies and the preference for people and how they like to view things. But this is not moving things in the right direction here.
Neat.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the way you gauge that it probably is piracy. If piracy is going down, it's likely there's something that something good is happening for the movie industries. And like you said, Greg, the reason why that for a long time has been ease of use. It's now easier for you just to click a couple buttons on Amazon Prime and rent a movie or buy a movie than it is going to your computer, downloading it, and you're risking a virus or some other crazy stuff. It's the cost and ease of use has now surpassed the time that it itself. And so, but now if you're going to start pricing out that even further, then it's not so much anymore. Now you're going to get people that are like, I'm not paying $30. I'm just going to download it and watch it that way.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big mistake.
Yeah.
And maybe this is just personal preference, but I can't believe they're putting this much emphasis behind Mulan because I don't feel like people were as excited for Mulan as they were other live action ones.
Yeah. Like I know.
I mean, this one's not as much of a musical, but let's face it, if they just flat out re-release Mulan, there would be a problem with some stuff in that movie.
Yeah.
But
Scotty, I know you like to talk about if you take a character out of a movie, and put just some other random thing in there, can it still happen without it? This is like quintessential that idea because you put any other character in there and it just looks like you're so many other Chinese era war movies that come out. Like you can go to Netflix.
Keanu Reeves.
A ton of these type of movies, and I saw the trailers and everything, and it looks just like a lot of what I've seen already. It
didn't have that Disney aesthetic to it at all.
Really?
Right, and it doesn't capture that the spirit of Mulan, at least from what I've seen in the trailers and stuff.
Is it a musical still?
No, that's what I was saying. Not at all.
Just go and watch the old. There's a live action Mulan movie made about 10 years ago. Yeah, it stars Jackie Chan's son in it. It's just called Mulan, but it's not a musical. It's a live action retelling of Mulan. It's not bad. It's actually pretty decent. Go and watch it. So save your money. Go and watch that instead.
Man, it's just all backwards.
See, the only reason I want to watch the Disney Mulan is for music. Sorry. Anyway, right. Let's put this to bed.
Okay, that's
guess what? Yeah.
Nope.
That's fine. I'm done.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you want a musical for The Lion King, guess what? It's the exact same thing in the live action one, but it's not at the same time. Go back and watch the old one. Anyway, I'm done. This is done.
Okay.
And with that, that's going to wrap up our AMC theater talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next bit of news is actually a bit of news I wanted to talk about originally until the Halo thing drops on my plate. But yeah, so I wanted to bring this up. So the Avatar live action the actual Avatar co-creators, Mike and Brian, have departed Netflix's live action remake of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So for those who don't know, Avatar was a great it was an American-made cartoon. It's kind of in like a Japanese anime style, I guess. Show back. I can't even remember when it first came out. It was like a few years ago now. It finished a few years ago. It was a really fun show. They did 3 seasons. It was really good story. It had a planned beginning, planned ending, and really popular. M. Night Shyamalan. I can't say his name. Let's try one more time. M. Night Shyamalan. He did a live action movie basically based on the first season, which did not do very well at all. I remember watching it thinking this is okay, but pretty much everyone hated it, so it wasn't great. It was fine. It was acceptable, I thought. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't great. But the great thing about the Netflix show was that they were going to do another TV series, And Mike Dante and Brian, I'm going to get his name wrong. Apologies, Brian. Konitsko? Anyway, Mike and Brian, the original co-creators of the series, they were on board for the Netflix show. And so fans were like, yes, this is going to be great. But just the other day, Mike actually put out an open letter to say that they are no longer involved in the project, and it seems to be to do with creative differences. So they're not agreeing with stuff that Netflix is doing. I do actually have, I've actually shortened this, it's still quite long though. I've got a blurb from the open letter he's done. Do you want me to read it out, guys? Or
Sure. Okay,
so this is from Mike. He did it on his website. It's also put up on social media as well as like on Instagram as well, if you follow him on Instagram. Many of you have been asking me for updates about the Avatar live-action Netflix series. I can finally tell you that I am no longer involved with the project. In June of this year, after 2 years of development work, Brian and I made the difficult decision to leave the production. In a joint announcement for the series, Netflix said that it was committed to honouring our vision for this retelling and to support us in creating the series, and we expressed how excited we were for the opportunity to be at the helm. Unfortunately, things did not go as we had hoped. Look, things happen, productions are challenging, unforeseen events arise, plans have to change. I took some advice from Uncle Iroh. I looked inward and started asking myself the big question, who are you and what do you want? I realised I couldn't control the creative direction of the series, but I could control how I responded. So I chose to leave the project. It was the hardest professional decision I've ever had to make, and certainly not one I took lightly, but it was necessary for my happiness and creative integrity. And who knows, Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar has the potential to be good. It might turn out to be a show many of you end up enjoying, but what I can be certain about is whatever version ends up on screen, it will not be what Brian and I had envisioned or intended to make. I also want to be very clear, this doesn't mean the end of my involvement in the Avatar universe. Writing this letter has left me with a very heavy heart. I know many of you will be disappointed and frustrated by this news. I get it. I share your disappointment and frustration. I also recognise this creative setback is small compared to the problems we're all facing as a society right now. Basically, that's kind of the main bit of the open that he did. As I say, I sort of did shorten that quite a bit. It's pretty long, but yeah, it's just sad. It seems Netflix had all this promise and vision of saying, yes, we're going to keep with the show creators. We want to make this as true to the original source as it was, or the vision they had, and it's not gone that way at all. So yeah, I'm really disappointed by this. I'm a massive Avatar fan. I actually bought the box set the other day on DVD, which I did show on the show, but yeah, I'm now dubious about this. I mean, I subscribe to Netflix anyway, so I will probably maybe check it out when it comes out, but I'm now more dubious and a bit disheartened by the news, actually. It's kind of sad that this has kind of happened. What do you guys think? Are you guys fans of the show, or?
I had one of my favorite classes was a screenwriting class in college, and the professor of it, he had written multiple things, had sent them off, and a lot of them actually did get made into movies and everything.
Wow.
He was on the set for one of them, and he said, the biggest tip I can give you as a writer, do not go to the set of the movie you wrote the story for, because it will not turn into anything that you originally envisioned, and you will just watch your image, or not your image, you'll watch your idea go in opposite, different directions. It's just not gonna, it's not gonna turn out what it was. I mean, and that can be said for anything that is a book first gets turned into a movie, but things like that. So it's not totally surprising that they're backing out of this, and to me anyway, because you never see. Yeah, just like what my professor said, you'll never see it completely be, unless you're an insane person and you directed, wrote the thing, like produce everything. That's the only way it's going to 100% be what you want, which sometimes is not what is popular, but who cares?
Yeah.
So
I've got a response to that, but I'll let Chris go first. If he's there,
if his mic's not muted again.
Yep, my mic is muted.
Hey.
I was going to say that whenever these movie studios, whether it's Netflix, whether it's Disney, whether it's Sony, whoever, whenever they buy a franchise, and they kind of inherit the original creators of that, they really don't give a shit what these guys say. They don't care. They are going to have their own plan for how they're going to go about doing this. Maybe, I think sometimes it's for kind of like the public service thing that they're like, yeah, we're bringing in these new creators and stuff. And that works so long as those new creators kind of go along with whatever that studio has intended for that new franchise to go. Case in point, when Disney bought Star Wars, they made this huge deal about how they're going to work with George Lucas and they're going to attain his vision and all this other stuff. That lasted for like a few months when they actually got into real like pre-production and stuff for that first Disney Star Wars movie. And now, like, George Lucas, he has no say in what's happening in Star Wars these days. So if George Lucas, the guy who invented Star Wars, doesn't have the clout in Hollywood to essentially, have his say in how his creation goes forward, no one's going to have it. Because if George Lucas can't, these dudes that created Avatar surely aren't going to strong arm Netflix producers and writers and lead people to where this, animated series is going to go. So I think they probably knew the writing was on the wall a long time before they announced this and before they decided to make this decision. And I think this is just the way it goes a lot in Hollywood, where, these new creators, they still want to stay attached to it, but that is only going to last so long as they can go along with the studio and do what the studio wants.
So my response to this is, yes, that's what usually happens and everything, but more often than not, that's based on like books or like comic books or something that had been transformed into TV or film for the very first time. This is a very successful TV show that's already happened. It was in cartoon form.
Oh, right.
And they're basically making it into live action. It had like really good viewing figures, apparently, according to like the stats when it was on Nickelodeon and stuff. It won tons of awards. It was nominated for even more awards. Just for an example, I know this doesn't really mean anything in the real world, but apparently it's actually got 100% user reviews on Rotten Tomatoes to show that, the fans do love this. You've got something that's already amazing in place. Why not use that? It almost makes no sense to change it so much. Granted, though, we haven't seen this yet. They might be doing things that make it even better, which the creators maybe think, oh, we're not sure about this. We don't know.
Right.
But it seems insane to me that you wouldn't lean on what's already been proven to be a success, Like, if they're just writers who've written a book and you're like, look, books don't really work in the movie world. You do have to change things. Take Harry Potter, for example. There's loads more stuff in the books and stuff that don't translate into movies, but sometimes you can see why they had to do that. They can't tell a whole book in a movie. That makes sense. This is a TV show. They've had it as a TV show before. It works. So yeah, for me, this is one of those frustrating things. So I don't know. We're still yet to see it. It could end up being actually a magical show, which we all love. But yeah. I don't think this is quite the same as other things that have happened in the past.
Even more emphasis, though, there's also been a movie that didn't do well. So they also, not only do they have examples of what will succeed, they have an example of what will not succeed. So there's almost no reason this show should not be good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got You've got the perfect point. Yeah, where they went away from the original source and it was terrible. God damn it. Wow.
So, hopefully it's going to be good.
Yeah.
This whole idea that we're talking about, like how it's not a big surprise and stuff, a movie that's related to this idea overall is called The TV Set. Have you guys ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
It has Sigourney Weaver and David Duchovny in it.
Okay.
Pretty good movie. Yeah, it's from 2006 or something. It's called The TV Set, if you can find it.
Is that about basically
David Duchovny plays a writer, and Sigourney Weaver is the head of this TV studio. He wants to turn his idea into a TV series, and he watches it he just watches that happen.
Okay.
Well, I'll say that much.
So
but it's pretty good.
That kind of reminds me of, have you ever heard of the show called Episodes with Matt LeBlanc?
No.
Matt LeBlanc's the main star. He plays himself like a really bad asshole version of himself. But it's basically about these British TV scriptwriters who've written a successful TV show in England. Because you know how like certain TV shows get translated to America, like The Office started as a British show, it got translated across and stuff. It's kind of like they wrote this really successful, popular show that lasted for like 2 seasons in the UK, and then this American studio goes, "Come over to us. We want to do it in America. We just have American actors and like set it in like an American situation, but you guys are the writers and stuff." And yeah, it's basically the same thing. They're like, every single decision they're like, "Oh, we love this is a great idea, it's amazing." And when it comes to the day of it, it's like, yeah, we're not going to do that, we're going to do this instead. And like, but they're kind of stuck in a contract, and they kind of have to be there and sort of give advice still. Right. They're like, "Oh, it's all good." And Matt LeBlanc basically plays this like really asshole version of himself. He's like, it's a comedy. It's really funny. They did 4 seasons of it, I think, and it finished, and it had quite a good ending to it, actually. I thought they wrapped it up quite nicely. Nice. But yeah, it's oh, it's so funny. But yeah, so that's the sad news of that. And Scotty, what is your news this week?
Yeah, I got video game related news. Surprisingly,
excellent.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. We're continuing the news with that, just like we were with Halo, but it changes an ableist trick name. So if you guys are familiar with the mute grab, Tony Hawk posted about this on his oh my god, Instagram with the kids on there. With the, so anyway, the mute air or the mute grab. Here is the backstory. I'm just going to read Tony Hawk's Instagram post because I feel like it sums it up pretty decently here. For nearly 40 years, we've shamelessly referred to this trick as the mute air grab. Here's the backstory. Around 1981, a deaf skater and Colton Skate Park local named Chris Weddle was a prominent amateur on the competition circuit. The Indie Air had just been created and named, so somebody proposed that grabbing with the front hand should be known as the Tracker Air. Others countered that Chris was the first to do it, so it should be named after him. They referred to him as the, quote, quiet mute guy, so it became known as the Mute Air. And we all went along with it in our naive youth. In recent years, a few people have reached out to Chris, who still skates, about this trick and the name it was given. He has been very gracious in his response, but it is obvious that a different name would have honored his legacy, as he is deaf but not lacking speech. I asked him, last year as I was diving into trick origins, and he said he would have rather named it the Deaf or Weddle Grab if given the choice. His exact quote to me was, "I am deaf, not mute." So as we embark on the upcoming Tony Hawk game demo release, some of you might notice a trick name change, the Weddle Grab. It's going to be challenging to break the habit of saying the old name, but I think Chris deserves the recognition. And then, thanks to Derek DeLio for being a great advocate of the deaf community and action sports for being the catalyst in renaming process. I told Chris recently, and his reply was, "I'm so stoked." And then he shot this photo in celebration yesterday, and there's a photo of him doing the mute grab air. So that's really fucking cool.
That's cool.
That and the fact that they do have a transgender skater in the game as well. Just shows. I brought this article up. This is like barely an article. It's just a post, and everybody's loving it. Because there's so much shit going on in the games industry and entertainment. Everybody is coming out and saying how shitty people have been, not just with women, but with everybody. And I just thought, like, this is a rare good thing that's happening in video games, like progressive and proactive, and I think it's really cool. And as if I wasn't already buying this game day one, I'm definitely excited to snag it. So what do you guys think about that? I know you're not super into skateboarding and everything, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive Tony Hawk game fan, but yeah, this is awesome. I mean, this is brilliant. It's this. I guess it's like a tricky area subject to talk about. It's like one of those things, though. To me, it just seems like in the past they were trying to honor him, but they did it in the wrong way. Like they didn't speak to him about it originally, and they just sort of came up with this name, which they thought, oh, it's the mute thing, it's that mute guy, even though he wasn't mute. But I think it's really good that they're almost. I mean, there are worse hardships in the world and everything, but I think for this little thing, it's just a nice little touch on almost trying to repair, or I can't get the word out, like to fix a mistake they've made, basically. It's just, we screwed up, we did this wrong, we named it wrong, we want to honor this guy properly, he was the first guy to do it, so we're changing the name. And I think that's really good. I think that's really cool. Yeah, it's beautiful. Brilliant. Very happy with that.
You have any thoughts on that, Chris?
No, I thought it was pretty neat. I did actually come across this earlier in the week. I don't know if it was on Reddit or Twitter or something, but I did see that. I thought it was a pretty cool move. So cool to see.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
What did I do? That was on X. I wish I could take credit for that one.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat because and the fact that it's being updated in a game is, it's saved for posterity there, so it's, not forgotten about. It's not like, oh, in this one video we did, it's called this instead of this. No, it's like, if anyone has the power to change the name of a skateboarding trick, it is Tony Hawk. So
right, yeah. And this game is so big in that community that once it gets stuck in this, I'm sure it'll travel, across skate parks, and that's cool.
And I think it's also one other slightly interesting thing is it's just interesting where names of these things actually came from. Like, I had no idea if that's where, because I've heard of the Mute Grab before, but I actually didn't know it was because of that reason. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting.
It's crazy to think about stuff like this only recently being invented too. Like just thinking about skateboarding moves when they're invented, which was only back in the 80s, and that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
That's something I've thought about because I watch Tony Hawk videos a lot, and like him, I could listen to that man explain how to make ramen soup. Like he's, I don't know, it's hypnotizing somehow. But yeah, Tony Hawk's a good guy. It's going to be a good game. Grab that game. Support one of the good things out there.
Excellent. And that's
my bit.
That's your bit. And that brings us to the end of the news. Perfect. So we will take another quick break and we'll be right back. Hey there, welcome back everybody, and we're now moving on to the Picks of the Week, where we talk about any movies, TV shows or games that we've been playing or watching, and we think you guys, the listeners, the audience, the viewers, you might be interested in watching, listening or playing these things as well. So without further ado, Chris, what is your Pick of the Week?
So like I talked about earlier in the show, I've been watching lots of Candyman. So my Pick of the Week is... man, I guess the Candyman Trilogy, man. I've watched them all. Like I said, the first one I think is genuinely a very good horror movie. It's essentially, it's about you said you're not very familiar with Candyman, right, Graham?
Yeah, I don't mean know anything about it.
It's basically about this. It's an urban legend about this guy who was the son of a slave. He was an artist back in like the 1800s, and this local like politician or landowner was really wealthy, hired him to come and paint a portrait of his daughter, and Daniel Robitaille and that guy's daughter ended up like falling in love. He impregnated her. And once the father found out, he basically got a posse and captured him. They took him out to this, like field, cut off his arm, and basically started torturing him, and then covered him in bees. And these bees came and stung him to death. And so he's basically become like a curse, where he now goes and anyone who says Candyman 5 times in front of a mirror, you basically summon him. It's kind of like Bloody Mary. And so he's haunting this like small community in Chicago. And it's like this urban legend. And it's this like, these people live in fear of the Candyman inside this small community. And there's this woman who is studying like urban legends and stuff in college. And she finds out about it. And she starts going to this area and like trying to learn more about the Candyman and uncover the kind of the legend and stuff like that. And turns out Candyman's actually real and starts killing lots of people, and it's crazy. This movie was so scary to me when I was a kid. I remember watching this quite a bit growing up, and we were so scared that when we had sleepovers and stuff, someone would always get dared to say Candyman in the mirror 5 times to see what would happen. But we would do the same thing with like Bloody Mary and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was always
what was the Bloody Mary thing? What was that supposed to do?
You stand in front of a mirror and say Bloody Mary like 3 or 5 times or something.
See yourself dead or something?
She would appear, wouldn't she? Or come and take
she would appear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically the same concept.
I feel like you had to do it at the bottom of the stairs or something, and she'd appear at the top of the stairs, and then she'd slowly walk down each step. That was a myth.
It was always a mirror for us. It was always a mirror.
There was a mirror. You had to be in a mirror, but you'd see her.
It's like overall the less fun version of Beetlejuice. Oh, sorry, there was lag.
Oh yeah. So less fun version.
The thing is, though, the Candyman has to have his like flock of people believe in him, so he kind of like continually terrorizes them. That's where he draws his energy and power from.
Okay.
And so he starts targeting this woman who is like looking into the actual real life crimes and stuff that took place, and she's trying to figure out like if this stuff actually happened from Candyman or if there was like just a normal reason for why these happen. So,
okay.
And so that's how Candyman starts targeting her, because she's basically making people stop believing in him. And the second film came out like I think Candyman came out in like 92, 91, something around there. The second one came out in 95. Had a much smaller budget, still a theatrical release, but it was just not as good at all. They recast pretty much everyone but Tony Todd, who plays Candyman, and they instead moved it from Chicago to New Orleans, like during Mardi Gras or like right leading up to Mardi Gras. And I think that's actually a perfectly okay place to do it. I think New Orleans and Mardi Gras have this like really neat, just kind of culture and mood. And I think it fits perfectly inside a horror movie. The thing that, so he was like in the first one, he was basically like focused on like an inner city, like, black community is basically what he was, and it was very unique to the black community. It was Candyman, and so the second one was based in New Orleans, and it was kind of the same thing. He was, all the black community knew who Candyman was, and so you feel like it was this urban legend that kind of travels around the United States, like a lot of urban legends do, especially like pre-internet days and things like that. So. The second one, I think, where they set it up was fine. It did some good stuff, but it just ultimately kind of fell flat. Like it just the way that the original creator wanted to basically make Candyman into this more aristocratic individual, and basically make him kind of like the Dracula for the black community, which could have been really cool. Like he would be this very well spoken, intelligent, and very like skillful person that kills for a reason. He's not just a slasher. But the movie studio wanted to go forward with the idea that he's the son of a slave and he wasn't from wealth and stuff, which is weird because Tony Todd himself is a very well spoken person, and even his portrayal of Candyman, he's very well spoken. He comes from like theater and stuff. He's done like lots of serious roles. And so I thought that was a mistake on the theater's part. I would have loved to see them go the other way with the original creator's idea of making him more, I guess, aristocratic. And the third film was released, I think, in 99, which is funny because we made a lot of jokes about this. This one got released straight to DVD. But we went through the list of all the other movies that released in 1999, and holy crap, there was a ton of really good stuff. I don't blame the studio for choosing to just push this on straight to DVD, because, man, there's stuff like The Matrix, Blair Witch Project, Varsity Blues, American Pie, like lots of just from all genres. They're big hitters. And so this one would have got killed if it actually came to theaters.
Yeah, especially compared to
Ring out 99, I think.
What's that?
Was the Ring out 99? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think it was.
No, that was like 2002, I think, because I saw it on a
it was
plane.
2002. Good job.
Yeah, I saw it on a plane going to Australia. So
as I was saying, in the first two movies, like he's primarily focused on the black community, but in the third movie. It gets really weird. So the end of the second movie basically tells you that Candyman is now trying to find the woman that he fell in love with. He's basically trying to find like whoever is left in her family, and it happens to be this like young white blonde woman who looks kind of like the Caroline who he first fell in love with, but it's like her great granddaughter.
Okay.
So he's trying to get her to basically agree to die essentially and live with Candyman for the rest of his life.
Wow.
Her life, or in the afterlife, whatever.
Weird.
Okay.
So that's what's established in the second film. The third film is basically stars Donna D'Errico from like Baywatch Nights, and she plays the main character's daughter from the second film. Like the woman in the second film, she has a daughter at the end. That's Donna D'Errico in this one, in like present day. But they move it to East LA, and the community that he's now terrorizing is like the Hispanic community and in East LA, and he's killing a bunch of white people. It's all over the place. There's no consistency, and the third one is just a mess. And if you want to watch a really cool underrated horror flick, I definitely recommend the first Candyman because I think it holds up today really well. And then Jordan Peele is making a new version.
Ooh.
I think next year. And I'm very excited about that. I think he's the perfect person to kind of resurrect Candyman. I think he's going to pay the proper respects to Candyman and what this series and those movies mean to the Black community, because I think it is a big deal to them. And I think that they deserve to have this cool horror character of their own. And I would like to see that. So I'm really looking forward to Jordan Peele's new Candyman movie.
You mentioned CGI in the outline here. What CGI was there? Was it just like the mirror stuff, like coming through the mirror or something?
So in the second movie, have you ever seen the second film?
I haven't seen it. The Candyman, I feel like Candyman was out of my radar because it just wasn't in the 80s. Right. If that makes sense, just because that was horror.
I definitely suggest, because the first one is essentially a slasher film, and it feels very much in the 80s. But
nice.
There's CGI at the end of the second one when he dies. He essentially like turns to glass and like shatters and just like flies all over the place. But it looks like almost like a CGI render from the PlayStation days, like PS1 era. Like it just looks really bad. Like imagine
like Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, just like they have this really bad CGI and stuff. It's terrible. It was laughably bad. My wife and I were watching it, and we actually laughed out loud. And the CGI actually in the third movie must have had a much lower budget. Granted, it did come out like 3 or 4 years later, but the CGI for the kill moment in the third movie was much better. It looked way better. Still wasn't great, but I'm saying like 1995, and you're putting CGI in your movies. There was much better CGI happening back then.
Yeesh. Yeah.
So,
wow. Okay.
Nice.
So yeah. So long story short, watch Candyman 1. But if you're in the mood to watch some crappy horror movies, Candyman 2 and 3 actually there's some fun to be had. I don't want to crap on them all together. There's some cool stuff that they do. And Tony Todd's awesome, man. I would watch the whole trilogy for him alone. Even if he has bad dialogue and a bad script to work with, he still is fully committed to the Candyman character, and he is just super creepy. I love it.
Brilliant.
Apparently, the first one's on Netflix, but
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm gonna check in real time because
all of them free at some point. Candyman 3 is on Roku, so you have to actually watch it through your browser, or if you have an Amazon Fire, you can watch it through your browser or on Amazon Fire too.
Yeah, the first Candyman's definitely on Netflix.
Yep,
right now
on Netflix. Candyman 2, I think, is available on Pluto or Tubi, and Candyman 3 is on Roku. So you basically, everyone, as long as you have a Netflix account, you can watch the first one streaming on Netflix and the other two streaming on free services right now. So you don't even have to pay any money. Don't pay $30 to Disney to watch Mulan. Watch the Candyman trilogy for free, and you got 9 hours of entertainment, baby.
It's not on the
You know,
UK
Chris
Netflix.
is excited about promoting something when he ends it with baby. I've noticed.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's not on the UK Netflix, but they do have Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh
so-
man,
And
Hey
Slenderman.
Graham,
that's
I
not the
want you
same
to-
thing, but still great.
Yeah.
Graham, I want you to do something. Do you have like a mirror or something shiny? Look at that. Look at that monitor to your left. Go
Guys,
over there.
there's a mirror behind me.
Okay, Scotty, go over to it and look in the mirror. And I want you to say
Let's
Candyman
say-
5 times.
Candyman. Ow, fuck. 5 times. All right. All right, here we go.
God, yeah.
Real time
If-
action
If he
happening.
dies,
He's gonna fucking die.
If I die, hey, the numbers will skyrocket.
Let's see.
Candyman, 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 Candyman. Oh my god!
Sometimes it doesn't happen right away. You summoned him.
wow.
And,
All right, well,
you
we'll
and
see what
Rachel are
happens.
fucked now.
He's
Keep
got to
an
go
eye
on
on that
Google Maps
mirror.
and find where you are right now. He's in like Los Angeles
Yeah.
or New Orleans at the moment. He's got to drive to you.
Oh,
it'll
right.
take a little while.
He's
but
got
he'll
to
get
catch a flight first.
Well, I mean, it's
It's going to take him a while to get here with COVID.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It may take a while. He's not flying these days anymore.
He doesn't use. I imagine if he were an anime, that he would just teleport, or not tele. He would travel on a carpet made of bees.
He does travel by bees in movie 3. He does do that.
Are you being
And
serious
it's,
right now?
Man.
yeah, I'm totally serious. Down like a subway tunnel, but it looks like he's just sitting on like a chair that they green screened out, like because he's not moving at all, and it just shows kind of like his waist up, but he looks like he's just kind of sitting down on something. It's
Fantastic.
bad. It is bad. It's so funny.
Okay. Wow. Scotty, what is your pick of
Yeah.
the week?
Totally different direction. I want to recommend everybody check out Alex Melton on YouTube, mainly because he's a musician. He has original work, but he does phenomenal covers. What threw him into my radar was his country version of Panic at the Disco's song "I Write Sins, Not Tragedies," which is renamed "I Write Sins, Not Tractors" by Panic at the Square Dance. But it is like hypnotizingly good how he turns these pop punk songs into country. He did it with "I Miss You" by Blink, which he calls "I Miss Y'all," and then another one was Sum 41's "Into Deep." But he does amazing pop punk covers of also Post Malone. He's got a whole Post Malone EP and a lot of Taylor Swift songs as well.
Wow.
But just like he was for 2 days out of this past week, he was my background music for work, like the entire day.
Okay.
He is very good. I think he has he's a producer down in South Carolina, I believe. But yeah, just watch one of his country covers and you're just like, damn, this works, and it's scary. Like I was watching them and I'm like, do I like country now? Is that what's happening? Because I don't think I do. So yeah, just like his country covers, he does different versions of things like as other artists too, but his Post Malone covers are really good. Post Malone's a hip hop artist. He takes them and turns them into pop punk. Taylor Swift, most of us know Taylor Swift. Like I wasn't a big fan of her single "Look What You Made Me Do" because the chorus
Yeah.
is so boring.
Yeah.
But he somehow makes it catchier and more fun with
Okay.
this pop punk version. So,
So
I'll put a link to one of his videos.
So he does country versions of pop punk songs, but he does pop punk versions of like pop and sort of hip hop.
Yeah, like pop
Okay.
rock and hip hop. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
He's a very talented individual. He's
Wow.
all over the place with some stuff. He did one cover of a song that was using nothing but stuff found in the kitchen as instruments, aside from having a guitar, but also just like acoustic, percussive stuff, like using bottles and tapping on the sink. What's it? Yeah, Alex Melton, very talented musician. I recommend checking him out on YouTube because you can see the Panic at the Disco one actually has like little subtitles going up throughout and I've totally been in these situations where he's like, okay, everybody's got bootcut jeans and it's just Miller Lite everywhere. So I don't know any country. I'm going to turn a song into country. Kind of like the gig in Blues Brothers, if you've seen that. Oh, we play all kinds of music here. We play everything, country and western. Oh yeah, we're the good old boys. We're gonna set up,
Yeah, brilliant.
So Alex Melton, very
Alex
talented.
Melton. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool.
What about you, Graham?
My pick of the week, as sort of mentioned earlier, was I forgot to grab the box. Never mind. Chris has the box. He showed the box earlier. The box of Control. Sorry, the game. Yeah. I'll start again. My pick of the week is, and I forgot to bring the box, is Control on Xbox One, which is also available on PS4 and PC. So if you weren't watching the show or listening to the show last week, Chris mentioned a bit of news about this game being tied in with the Alan Wake series with the new expansions coming out for it. And that really piqued my interest because I love Alan Wake. And for some reason, I'd never even heard of this game. And so I bought it on the very day that we were recording. And it arrived a few days ago. And I popped it in my Xbox. And I have played many hours on it already. And I love it. I think it's a brilliant game. It came out in 2019, so it's been out for a while. You can get it reasonably cheap. I got mine for £20, so that's about half the price of less than half the price of the normal brand new Xbox game. And yeah, it really reminds. If you're a fan of Alan Wake, this does actually really remind me of it in the sort of in the combat and the way you're shooting and stuff, and the way you look over the shoulder, the camera work, but also the styling of it and the eeriness about it. So Alan Wake, if you don't know, has a lot of creepy factors to it. I will say Alan Wake is a scarier game though. Like I found the enemies a lot scarier and some of the situations scarier. There are some creepy bits in this, and the whole premise this is just from like basically when you first start the game is you are in this big building called the Federal Bureau of Control. It's a bit like the FBI, but it's of control, and they sort of work with paranormal type stuff. And you enter this building, and there's no one in here except for a janitor who's really creepy. And you don't really know much about your main character, who's this woman called Jessie. But basically, she, through this weird situation, she basically becomes the new head of Control. And this is like in the first 3 minutes of the game, basically. So she becomes the new head through some series of events, and she doesn't really know what's going on, but there's something about her backstory. She's trying to investigate the Federal Bureau of Control as well, because it's tied with her history. And there's lots of creepy paranormal stuff in it, but basically this entity has basically taken over the whole building. There's some people who have managed to not be taken over because they're wearing these special packs that one of their scientists made for a handful of people. So it's up to you and you're not affected. So it's up to you to sort of go around and try and free, or work out what's happening, and also try and free the building from control of this. They call it the hiss because it makes a weird hissing sound. But it's taken over the bodies of most of the people there. So you're getting attacked by employees of Control, but they're all possessed and stuff. So again, a bit like Alan Wake, in the way that Alan Wake, the people kind of possessed by the sort of shadow, as it were. They turn into these sort of shadowy people. It's really cool. And tying back to last week's show when Chris was talking about the expansion pack, I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like when they first started making this game, they did plan to tie it in with Alan Wake. Because, as I say, the gameplay style is very similar. There's a couple of bits where they sort of mention hints of... If you didn't know about Alan Wake, you probably wouldn't even think about this. But now that I know that Alan Wake's coming out, there's a couple of bits. So near the start, there's this weird bit when you go into this motel, and basically you go into this motel to access another area of the building, but it's almost in another dimension. You sort of get teleported there, and they've got all these rooms which are locked off except for one room, which gives you access to get to the other part of the bureau. But this lady sort of mentions about the motel, says, "Isn't it strange that there's only one door you can access?" I think she's sort of talking about how it's in another plane of existence, and she reckons it ties into other parallel worlds or other dimensions. So I feel like that is almost the intro to Alan Wake for the expansion pack. And the motel itself feels like something very much out of Alan Wake. The game is a little bit different to Alan Wake though, because it's almost like you've got Jedi powers. So as you progress through the game, you pick up these different abilities. So you can pick up objects and throw them at people. You can even pick up chunks of the floor and throw them at people. In fact, that's one of the cool things I love about this game was the environment. They're not completely destructible, but a lot of it is, and it makes the actual fighting scenes really awesome. So do you remember the scene in The Matrix at the end, when they're in the sort of big, they go into that building with the pillars and stuff and have a massive gunfight and like the pillars like shattering and stuff. That sort of shit happens in this game. Like you'll be hiding behind cover and like the cover's getting chipped away and someone will like throw a bomb and like the cover will just explode. And it doesn't disappear, it actually stays there. And then you can use your powers to lift up that rubble and just start throwing it at people and stuff. And you can pick up chunks off the floor and you actually see parts of the floor like rip off and stuff. So you can't completely destroy the building, but most of the environment is destructible and it makes it really fun and really intense. And each floor is, the way they've made the game essentially is each floor is open with no loading times and stuff. So if you destroy a room in one of the floors and you go back to it, it's still destroyed. But if you load up to the next level, then come back again, it has reset itself. I guess that's just the limitations of technology and stuff. But it's really awesome that you can be walking around. The floors, by the way, are massive. They're huge. They're big, sprawling environments. And it's kind of a bit like Resident Evil or like Metroidvania or like Dark Souls games where you have a small portion of the world that you're in effectively, and you sort of make your way through, and then eventually you unlock a shortcut back, and it basically all the rooms and corridors and stuff are kind of connected to make it easier to get back and through the level and stuff. Like you find an elevator which suddenly takes you up to like the 3rd floor, which now you've got access to that. But it's really cool, and I'm really loving it. As I say, it's not quite as scary as Alan Wake, but there are some really creepy stuff. There's like this big scary bird thing which freaked the hell out of me because it kind of appears and then disappears, and when it appears it has this weird explosion which really hurts you, and you have like a split second where it's like weird and it's like and it's like explodes. And they're really hard to kill as well. And yeah, I'm just enjoying it. I think they sort of have missions as you're progressing, so do this mission to do this, and you got sort of side missions which you don't have to do, but it helps if you do them. And occasionally they have these like timed missions where it will pop up saying like a bureau emergency, go to this area within 20 minutes and kill the enemies there, and you basically get loads of extra experience points, which I've done about 10 of them, and I've failed all but 2 of them because I keep either dying or there's one that we have to protect some of the troops that are on your side, and they keep dying, and I'm like, oh god damn it! So I keep failing them. So you can actually fail those side missions, which is annoying, but I really like it. And it's you can't
Can you redo them?
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
But they do sometimes come back. I've found after a few happened, one came back which seemed very similar. Basically, it was the same thing in the same area, so I think it was the same mission. But you have to get there within a set time and finish it within that set time, if that makes sense. And sometimes, because it's so sprawling, you do have teleporting areas. We unlock these teleporting areas to get around the building a bit quicker. But if you forget where something is, you kind of, it's but I'm really enjoying it. There's one annoyance I have with it though, is that you've got this gun, which is really cool. And the gun looks really awesome, actually. Like parts of it like move around and stuff as you shoot, and you can upgrade it to change it into different forms. So you got like a normal pistol mode, then you get like a shotgun mode, you get like a railgun mode, you get like a machine gun mode. And so like all this little hand pistol, but like parts of it move and stuff. But basically, when you're beginning the game, you've just got the handgun mode, and you press X to reload it. It uses it doesn't really use bullets; it uses energy. So if you wait a few seconds, it will recharge. But if you're in a frantic moment, before it runs out of energy, you press reload and she'll reload it really quickly. The problem is when you unlock the ability to have a second weapon, so you can have basically 2 versions of your weapon at the same time. X is also the button to change your weapon, which is just bizarre. Like, so there've been times I've been in action, I'm like, shit, I'm running really low. I'm going to press X to reload, and suddenly my gun has changed from like a long range shooting pistol or machine gun into a shotgun mode. And I was like, no, it's not the gun I want. It's just like really frantic. Like, press it back. It's very quick to switch.
Do you have to
back
like tap it quick to do one or the other or something?
Not as far as I can tell. It just seems to just press it and she'll reload, or she'll change.
Man.
So sometimes she will reload.
That's like like Sonic Adventure issues. That shouldn't be happening in 2020 for video games, you know?
I know. And that's one thing that's really annoyed me about the game. It's not okay, it hasn't really annoyed me. It hasn't ruined the game for me, because she will, as I say, the guns do reload.
It takes you out for a split second,
It does. So yeah, I'd really have to get used to that.
Flow.
So yeah. And something I love about it is the puzzles. There's areas where there are puzzles you have to solve, which they do not give you any hand holding on, which I really like. The most hand holding is someone might sort of go, oh, you need to just check this out, which they don't really tell you what to do. So there's like a puzzle with, you got to match up these cards with like on the right computers and stuff, but you don't know what the computers are, and you have to look at these boards on like whiteboards around the room. There's like a laboratory area, and so there's like they're not highlighted or anything. They're just parts of the scenery, and then as you're walking around, you're like, oh wait, these correlate to this, and so there's some really cool like puzzles which they don't handhold you for, but it feels really satisfying when you work stuff out. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I thank you, Chris,
Graham,
for mentioning it. It's so good.
I feel bad now because I have something really bad to say about the game.
Oh,
and
no.
it's there is news about it. So, if you need another reason why you should never buy a game right when it comes out, I've got some news for you. So, the publisher 505 Games for Control announced this past week that they are going to be coming out with Control Ultimate Edition on August 27th, which is about 11 days from now. It's going to cost $40, but you'll get basically a free upgrade to next gen consoles. So you won't have to rebuy the game again. You'll go ahead and have it when the PS5 and Xbox the Series X comes out. You'll be able to download it and it'll play better and do all this stuff. But the one thing is that that's only for the Ultimate Edition. So if you bought Control at launch or new at retail, that's not going to get it for you. So you're essentially going to have to. You spent the initial money to buy the game, then you have to buy $25 for the season pass to be able to get Awe, which is coming out, next week or coming out very soon too. That's the expansion that's going to tie in the other games and stuff.
Alan
Wake, exactly. Thank you.
Experience or something.
But then you're gonna, So you basically, if you bought $60 at the game at launch, then $25 for the season pass, and then you're gonna have to spend another $40 just to be able to get the game on next gen consoles. It's basically $125 that you have to invest in just to be able to play this game like on next gen consoles.
But here's the thing: if you've bought the game already and you've got the expansion packs, do you need to buy next gen consoles? Like,
well, I mean, not if you don't want an Xbox One or a Series X or a PS5. You don't have to buy them.
I mean, you can buy the console, but you don't need to buy the game again necessarily if you've enjoyed the game and you finished it. Unless they're planning on like doing 10 years worth of more expansions.
They did lay out a roadmap for this and where the DLC is going and everything when it came out.
It's also going to just play better. It's gonna it's going to have upgraded resolution. It's going to have better frame rate.
Wow. Okay. I'll tell you right now, the frame rate in this game is completely.
You don't realize that there are hundreds of remasters today. Like that's what our industry is. It's basically remasters, amongst other, halfway original games. So we are in a remaster culture, like in the game industry. That's what we see. How many games, release every day that's a remaster or something else. So, but people like this stuff.
I feel like this wouldn't be necessarily a remaster for the next gen consoles because it's more just it's the same game, just it just happens to be on slightly more powerful machines, so it will run better. Unless they're somehow really planning on doing some adding more stuff and enhancing even further, because the game looks great already and it runs perfectly. So I feel like the visual issue, there's no visual issues, there's no performance issues with the game. It'd just be a case of you can run the same game on slightly better hardware.
Are you playing it on an Xbox One X?
I'm playing on Xbox One X, yeah.
Series X.
I've heard it is almost unplayable on a PS4 launch or an Xbox One base model.
Interesting. I will put it. I've also got an Xbox One base model, which I can test it out in, and I can come back to you next week.
It doesn't run well, so it's interesting to hear you're having no problems with it.
Yeah, I'll find out soon enough. I want to play it. I'll be playing it on.
Okay. The only time I've ever seen a tiny bit of slowdown is when I pause the game and unpause it, and there's like just a moment, like I'm like in action, she'll sort of slowly coming back into action, but it's like it doesn't actually affect the game itself. Like that's just the only time I've actually seen any slowdown. But yeah, I'll try it on my Xbox One and my standard Xbox One and see what happens. But yeah, Chris can also report back.
Yeah, after it's done installing this weekend for Chris.
It's done now. I'm done.
Oh.
Ready to rock and roll, baby.
Wow. Okay. But yeah, there we go. That's my pick of the week. Control, as Chris sort of got me to buy it, but maybe hold out for the definitive edition. If you haven't got it already, wait a couple of weeks, get definitive edition.
There's no definitive edition of Night Trap. You just play it.
Yeah.
$3.
There you go.
$3.
I think,
Or get
I, think I got my copy for like $20 or $30 though, so I'm not. I don't feel like I got swindled.
Yeah.
I want to support Remedy and buy this game at launch because I think they're an awesome developer, and then their publisher goes off and does something like this, where like, we're going to release an Ultimate Edition, but sorry, you're out of luck. It would have been cool to see if like maybe they said like, hey, if you bought it at launch, there's like a $10 upgrade, whatever. I could live with that. Just as long as you're not basically completely shutting them out the door, as long as you're giving something back to the people that supported you at launch. That's huge. So I think this could have been handled much better.
Yeah, definitely.
So there are rumors floating around now because the voice actor for Max Payne said something about Control or something. I forget exactly. So I'm misquoting all over the place. But Remedy made the Max Payne games. What do you guys think about it actually, instead of just an Alan Wake universe, being a Remedy universe, and somehow Max Payne is involved in Control now?
Well,
we talked about that last week. That's what they plan on doing.
Oh, did we?
The Remedy is starting their own expanded kind of universe or whatever, where all the games are basically going to tie into themselves, like to this expanded universe.
It works with Marvel.
Did I just black out during that discussion because I don't remember
that was basically Chris's news last. He didn't mention Max Payne, but yeah, Chris's news last week was
okay.
The whole Remedy universe. To be honest, I forgot that Max Payne was part of the universe. So awesome. And I'd love to
get Mark
see that.
Wahlberg back.
But if you can have the Max Payne like with the destructible environments and stuff, that'd be amazing. That'd be so much fun in this game.
Wasn't that the first game to have bullet time?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a cancelled Dreamcast game as well. It was being planned. It was planned for the PC and Dreamcast, and it didn't come out on the Dreamcast in the end. Sad.
Darn you, Millennium Edition of Windows.
Anyway, that is my pick of the week. Go check it out. Either buy cheap for $20 or £20, or wait for the definitive edition and get a slightly more enhanced version. And yeah, awesome. So that will do it for the picks of the week, and we will be right back after this little break.
I want to let you guys know that Megavisions has a Patreon at www.patreon.com/Megavisions. And when you're there, you can choose to get either a physical or digital issue of the magazine. We ship worldwide, so you can get one wherever you live. And if you subscribe to the physical edition, you automatically receive the digital issue as well. And we only charge your account when we're actually ready to ship an issue. So you don't have to worry about getting random charges that you don't understand why they're coming your way. We are very clear, and we let everyone know like the weeks leading up to when we're actually going to charge everyone's account. So anyway, please go check it out. Like I said, it's www.patreon.com/Megavisions.
Hello and welcome back. We're now moving on to our feature discussion, and as always, we're mixing it up a little bit. And this week, we're actually going to look at a topic called I Thought This Was Going to Suck, where we look at games that we were afraid to play or thought we might not enjoy, but when we played them, actually, they turned out to be pretty damn good. This one's a little bit of a special edition, I guess. And Scotty, would you like to let the audience know why?
Yeah, coming up in the month of September, we're going to be celebrating this guy, Dreamcast. Okay, nothing's in there. I was afraid there's been a game in there the whole time. But with the Dreamcast Dreamless 24-hour marathon, we are going to be celebrating him, and that will not fall off. He will stay there for the moment. And so we thought we'd make this a Dreamcast edition. September 12th, though, again, Dreamcast Dreamless 24-hour marathon. Play games for 24 hours. One of my favorite parts of that is when we're playing these games and people watching, even people attending, are like, man, how have I missed this? I need to own this or play more of this, or it is insane that this was never on my radar. So last year was Ill Bleed for Corey. I think Antichrist really dug Gunlord. Previously, people have wanted to get into like the indie games we show off and stuff. So kind of going along with that, we're going to incorporate Dreamcast games into this feature. So do you want me to go first with mine?
Yes.
Okay. So mine was a game that I heard it was supposed to be great. And I got it Christmas when it came out when I was 16. Little Scotty Mo Jr. didn't understand video games when he popped in Shenmue. Because I thought this was the dumbest thing in the world as a stupid teenager. And was just like, this is boring as hell. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. The controls suck. Fuck this. So I went and played Jet Set Radio or something, probably. Jet Grind Radio in the States, sorry. But then I tried it more recently as an adult and fell in. It was boring at first, but really the mundane stuff, the daily grind, barely anything happening, is actually more entertaining than I thought it would be, or that I thought it was as a kid anyway, kind of forcing you to take your time with the game. The first one is known for that. The second one incorporates speed or time skipping. What's the? I'm missing a word here. But like the weird characters, the awkward conversations, the dumb interactions with people, but then I learned to appreciate it because of how everyone in that world has a routine. They go to get breakfast, they go to walk over to the burger place, they go to the arcade, they go to the bars at night, like stuff like that, and just everything you can do in it. I don't understand how anyone could 100% either any of Shenmue game. But I very much appreciate it now as an adult, and it blows my mind that more people don't appreciate it like I feel they should, because it still does some stuff that games don't do today. Yeah, Shenmue is very good. A runner-up to that I'll mention briefly is Sega Bass Fishing, not just because it incorporates the fishing rod, but because it's a palate cleanser. I also own the Japanese version, which is Get Bass. And uses the fishing rod controller, but honestly I've probably played that game less than I played Soul Calibur with the fishing rod controller. But the Sega Bass Fishing, it's like coming from a generation of like Bass Hunter 64 and garbage on the Genesis and whatever, like Bass Masters 2013 or whatever, that's the wrong year, 1996, I don't know. Thinking like, how's a fishing game fun? But Sega added its arcade appeal. And bass fishing is, if you want to play something, you don't feel like you need to accomplish a lot. Just sit there, zone out, maybe put a podcast on or something. The most exciting part is like fish on, and you have to reel it in and whatever. So yeah, Shenmue and Sega Bass Fishing. There you go.
Nice. It's Chris.
What do you got? Do you guys have any comments about those, or do you want to just jump into yours? What do you think?
Sorry, no, we can comment on this, I guess, as well. Yeah, I think they're both. Those are both games I can completely understand. Not everyone would appreciate them necessarily straight away, or they'd be hesitant about playing them. Shenmue is one of those games that so many people have sort of hyped up so much that I know of a lot of people who've actually played it and just been like, I don't get it. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Once you actually understand the game and just realize actually how kind of groundbreaking it was for its time, you start to really appreciate it. And personally, I thought the game was really fun straight from the off when I first played it.
Okay.
I just really enjoyed it. But I was watching this in magazines and stuff at the time so closely. Yeah. I kind of understood exactly what it was going to be. So when I played it, it was not a surprise. I guess one of the things that I think was a bit maybe off-putting is the wrong word, but when you first start the game, you're in your room and just moving around the very tight spaces in your house felt very awkward. But once you get outside and it opens up, and I barely spent time in my house in the end. Once I got into that, I was like, yeah, I'm loving this game. The fights were great, the action, QTEs, loving everything. I actually walked around talking to people just to find out what they had to say, because like how ridiculous it was. And one day I remember being with a friend, and we got up early and watched someone leave their house to go to work. We actually followed them to work. I can't remember who it was.
You can do that.
Yeah, you can do that. You can just, and like, if you knock on someone's door when they're not in, or like they're like their kid might be in, they'll open the door and go, "No, sorry, my mum's at home," and like shut the door and leave you. So it's like,
oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And you can call up the weather channel and find out what the weather's going to be and stuff. I thought that was amazing. That just blew my mind.
Yep.
And put out a Sega Saturn from underneath your TV, and you can play. No, it's not really a Saturn game. You can play like Hang On and stuff in your house.
Yeah.
This is like real life.
That was crazy to play a game in a game. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the only thing I found disappointing with Shenmue was collecting the cassettes, the music, because you could collect them or buy them or whatever and listen to them, but you had to do it on like the pause screen, so you couldn't like listen to them when walking around, which I think would have been way better. Like, I mean, like, that would have been way cooler. But yeah, oh well. Yeah. Chris, have you got any... Oh, actually, one thing, just on Sega Bass Fishing. I love that game so much. Me and my friend, we just played that so much. We just thought it was so much fun. It's very simple, but yeah, it's like... Fish.
It's weird that it's not 2-player. The first one's only 1-player, which is strange. But I think that marine fishing...
Ooh.
Oh, no, that's only 1-player too. That's so weird.
Okay. Yeah, I found it very addictive. It just became really fun. Me and my friend just really enjoyed it. And we used to love playing the fishing mini game in Zelda Ocarina of Time. Like, we just sat there for like a day basically playing that, trying to catch the biggest fish. I was going to bring that up. A lot of people like will still play Final Fantasy 14, I think, online, just because there's fishing in that too. Like the fishing mini games and stuff, for some reason people are drawn to those. Yeah, it's kind of you chill out and then it's like, oh my god. Like, really gotta, and they did it really well. But I would say that Big the Cat in Sonic Adventure, if that incorporated the fishing rod, I probably would tolerate his portion of the game way more. I actually don't mind Big the Cat sections. I'm just saying it. I think there's nothing wrong with them. They're fine for me. I thought they were kind of fun. Side break.
That's okay to be wrong.
I just embrace
We've already established on this podcast that you can have an opinion, and it is probably wrong.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
The only thing I was going to say is I can't wait until we get to the time where video games are so advanced that you can find like a Dreamcast and play Shenmue, and then you can play as Ryu playing a Saturn playing Hang On. Imagine that. That's the future of video games.
That is the future. Oh.
Shenmueception. Yeah. In Shenmueception. I had it. I don't know. Yeah, that's mine though.
Nice. So Chris, what's been tickling your taste buds this week, my friend?
Well, I was going to say Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt, but then we switched it that we wanted to do Dreamcast. So Witcher 3 was going to be my original pick, but if I had to narrow it down for Dreamcast games, it's going to be Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage.
Ooh.
And it's not necessarily that I thought I was going to hate the game, or when I started playing it, I hated it. I didn't really know anything about the game. It was one of those, I think I probably just went to my local game store and saw that it came out, and I picked it up and went home and played it. It looked like a good like hack and slash type of game. Playing it, I really started liking Guts' character. He's basically this kind of like wandering mercenary that has this huge, giant, overpowered sword, and he's a super badass. But I could tell there was so much to like the story, because it wasn't like an origin story for Guts at all. And what I didn't know at the time was that for many, many years there had been a manga from Japan about Guts. It was, Sword of the Berserk. And I also learned, after doing research, that there was an anime. And so I somehow bought the anime or downloaded it. I couldn't remember. This is like, early 2000.
That checks out for you.
This is like 2001 or something like that, man. So, but anyway, I started watching the anime, and I just fell in love with the anime. I was like, this is so, so cool. And I eventually started buying the manga and stuff, which I have like some of them like right here, which is like the OG manga stuff. But then they started coming out with these like collected volumes that are like really cool. And it's all
fancy.
Like a bunch of the volumes, like all in one, like all right here.
Hardback.
in hardback, yeah. And so I actually need to get the third edition as well. But anyway, it opened me up into this whole universe that I didn't even know existed. And once I fell in love with that, like, it made me love the video game even more. The game itself isn't all that great, I'll be honest. There's a lot of frustrating parts in it where you're using Guts' sword and it's really big, but they like intentionally put you in situations where you can't use it. And so like you're trying to swing on like a narrow like staircase and just keeps hitting the wall. So then you're having to use like other methods to fight characters and stuff, whether it's just like punching them or you could throw these like daggers that he has. It's really, really cool. I fell in love with it. And I actually thought that it had some really good voice work in the game, especially for its time. I mean, this was a time when most games that had voice acting, it was just a joke. You know, everyone made fun of them and stuff. It still wasn't a time where probably like Shenmue and stuff like that. It was like when we finally got like really high quality voice acting. I mean, this wasn't at that level, but it was still like much better than a lot of what had come out around that same time. So that was
almost a jail sandwich.
What's that? Oh yeah.
A jail sandwich, yeah, like that.
Berry. So man, I love Sword of the Berserk. Have you guys ever played this?
Oh, yeah.
I only played it because I bought it for someone as a gift, and I tested it out before giving it to them. But
tested.
I don't own it anymore. It's jumped up in price since I bought it for him. But I do remember just the sword. Like, all I remember is that first part where you're like near some gypsy travelers or something. I forget exactly.
Yeah.
The very beginning, but he does have his big sword. I was going to ask you if that was one of the issues with it, was like hit detection, but it sounds like it's reliable hit detection where you can't, you know.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, and there was some other issues, but overall it was a solid game. And it was neat too because it was like super graphic and like Guts could like slice like dudes in half and there's just like blood spraying out.
Nice.
And so for its time, it was rated M, and you know, for good reason. But it was just one of those cool games that had a ton of blood in it. And at that point in time, I was still all like, whatever bloody game I could get, I want to play. You know, and it was just one of those games that just really.
Why, if you didn't know anything about Berserk, how did you end up grabbing it? Did you just see, like, this looks violent, I want to play it?
I think so. You know, I think I may have read something in a magazine about how you could slice people in half, and it was, like, really bloody. And I was like, it sounds kind of cool. And so I ended up buying it, and it wasn't until, like, I started playing the game, and then I was like, you know, there's got to be more to this. So I searched online, and that's when I discovered that there was an anime and a manga. And because
it does. If I remember correctly, it very much just kind of starts you. It doesn't introduce Guts at all. You're just him.
Yeah, it basically starts like between volumes 22 and like 23. That's what, according to Wikipedia, anyway. But yeah, it starts way later. It even starts if you watch the original anime. It's even past that. From you know, it's so far into the story. So, but now, I mean, now we've gotten that original anime. We've got a trilogy of movies that came out years ago, and then we also got a new CGI Berserk anime that is. Yeah. There's some really awful animation in that. I think that's like what it has. It's kind of named for now, reputation, but. I will say that I like it because it goes beyond like the golden arc and everything, where it's telling more of the story than we've ever gotten before in an anime film or series.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Fun.
So, on Sword of Berserk, I have played it. Annoying, I can't find my copy, which is really annoying. But basically, I own have you heard of white label Dreamcast games?
White label? I mean, that's what
the games that are white labels. Is that like a publisher?
No. So there's certain Dreamcast games that were given to retailers and stuff, which are literally white label. They just have the name of the game on and stuff. So that's Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. So
that looks like a CD. That looks like you burned that.
I did not burn this.
Graham, you're lying.
Yeah.
It's legitimate. It's official. It's by Sega. Yeah.
Hey Graham, look into that disc and say Candyman 5 times.
But I own the white label version. So I've got like a handful of white label. I've got Evolution, Tomb Raider. I've got Sword of the Berserk as well. And I was given Sword of the Berserk and Tomb Raider when I worked briefly at a video game store. I was doing it we have something called, it's called, it's like basically a job training thing. When you're still at school, work experience, that's what we call it, sorry. Yeah, it's called work experience. So you don't get paid for it.
Get your work credits in or whatever.
Yeah, so you go there for like 2 weeks or something. You work in the store helping out. And I got with this local video game store. And yeah, they basically, they didn't pay me, but they seemed to like me.
Did you do that? How did you say this is related to school?
It doesn't have to be, that's the thing, it doesn't have to be related to school. It's just a job. That's all we had to do. Just find a company that was... Some people did like really good stuff. I think some people like worked in law firms and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm going to go to the local video store. I was like, yeah, I want to work in a video game store in Boulder.
This kid's going places.
I remember... I did something like that. I don't remember. I wish I could remember what it's called, but I essentially got out of school like an hour and a half early to go help my youth pastor get PowerPoints together for that upcoming Sunday's youth ministry thing. I was super involved in my church in high school and freshman year of college. A lot has changed, but I forget what it was like a early work dismissal or something. But I was like, this is my job to get out of school an hour and a half early.
Okay, like basically for our 2 weeks, we didn't have to go to school at all. We actually went to work. We weren't getting paid for it, obviously, but yeah, they gave me some free stuff. They gave me like a Game Gear battery pack. They gave me a few Dreamcast, because they knew I love the Dreamcast and Sega stuff. So I was like downstairs, like sorting out like all this stuff in this basement, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
guys, we can get rid of all our Game Gear shit."
Basically, they also had it wasn't quite life size, but it was nearly life size statue of Lara Croft to promote Tomb Raider 4, and they basically said, "Do you want it? Because we're just going to throw it out." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And this is a point where I couldn't drive because I was too young to drive. So I was like, I asked my parents if they could pick me up one day after work rather than catch the bus. And like, why? I was like, because I want to take home this Lara Croft statue, and they're just like, "No, like you're not bringing that home." I could have had this limited edition Lara Croft statue. Yeah, why not? I was like, well, we got no space for it because it was like proper, like it's like 5 foot tall.
Can't keep this in here. It's a distraction to Graham. He can't work without a boner when this thing's around, so we got to get rid of it.
Oh man, so yeah, but I have the white label version of Sword of the Berserk, and annoyingly I can't find it, but I did randomly manage to pick up the manual for the game. So I don't have the proper British PAL box. I'm working my way there. So I now have the manual. I've got the white label just somewhere. It might be in one of my CD wallets, but I can't find it right now. Slightly panicking. Or it could be at my parents' house. I don't know.
Whenever you find that, Graham, if you want to sell it, have your people call by people.
Yeah, maybe. No, I don't know.
Dude, I looked up Sword of Berserk while we're talking about it, at least US anyway. Complete, it goes for $48. Loose, the disc is $30.
What? Wow. That's quite incredible.
Yeah, I don't know.
How about for the white label version?
That's not... Well, this only searches US stuff, so I don't honestly know.
Wow. Okay.
That means...
But yeah, Chris, I really enjoyed the game, and on the topic of cutscenes and stuff and the actual voice acting, I was blown away by this. There was a couple of cutscenes that I remember I remember just sitting there, like especially the sort of the bad guy, like sort of, I don't know what he was, like a mayor or something of the town, like really grizzled kind of looking guy with a sort of red and grey hair.
I think that was Griffin.
Yeah, I just remember watching one of the cutscenes, being like just watching it and going, "Oh shit, wait, this is a video game." Like for some reason, if you watch it today, you'll be like, "This is terrible. This is obviously video game graphics." But at the time, it was so well done. I was like, it wasn't CGI, it was in-game visuals. And I was like, this is brilliant. And I love the storyline. I thought the story was fantastic.
I misspoke. It was Baron Balzac.
Okay. Balzac. That rings a bell. Yeah. Yeah. I love the storyline. I love the levels and stuff, your journey that you went on. you're right. The gameplay was annoying with some of the areas where you couldn't swing your sword, considering part of the fun was killing people with your sword. But it still worked. I thought it was really good. I never finished it though. I got to the very last boss, and like the point just before the last boss, you just get to save it and stuff. And I couldn't do it, so I got really frustrated. So I stopped playing the game. I went back to it like a couple of years later, and my VMU broke, so I could not load the game anymore. So that's like 7 or 8 hours of my life. Like basically, the file got corrupted or something. I don't know. I had to wipe the whole. None of my save files worked on the VMU anymore. It wasn't even VMU. It was like one of the 4 megabit cards. It wasn't an official card anyway.
The 4 times. Oh, okay. I thought you meant like the 4 times thing or whatever.
Yeah, well, it just it got corrupted, so I had to wipe that sort of save pack bit, and yeah, so that's I've never gone back to really play it from start to finish since, but yeah, really good game. So yeah, that's a good choice there, Chris. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you even say yours yet, Graham?
No, not yet.
Okay, I thought you started it. I don't know. Sorry. I got distracted because I was trying to look for like I don't know if this happened in in Europe, but Midway release games, Mortal Kombat Gold, Hydro Thunder, they eventually had a hot new edition, and I thought maybe that was like the white label edition, but the disc is the exact same. I think there is a disc that's blue for Hydro Thunder, but the hot new editions were like the glitchy repaired version.
The glitchy ones, yeah. It was basically their idea of like patching the game.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I don't think we have white label over here. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Maybe if you can ask that retro store you go to, because
we have White Claw over here.
What's that? What?
White Claw.
I don't know what that is. I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
I guess it's some sort
of hard seltzer drink that people claim is good.
Oh, okay.
It's like a hard seltzer. It's alcoholic.
I thought it was going to be like some sort of sexual thing. But okay. That's fine. Welcome to the White Claw Show.
I gotta go.
Speak to Warp Zone and just ask them if they know of any of the like.
The disc. I thought you were talking about White Claw still.
Ask if they have.
Ask if
they
give
know.
Me a White Claw.
Jesus Christ!
It's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong. Chris, stop talking, please. I'm gonna go to my pick now. Screw it. So I guess mine is a little bit different to your guys. This is one that, again, I basically it was more that I was afraid that I wouldn't like it. Like it was a game that I really wanted to play and really wanted to love, but as it was getting closer to launch date, I don't know. I got a fear in my head that this game is not going to be that good because all the screenshots looked beautiful. I didn't see any gameplay footage. So this is a time that you couldn't go on the internet and really watch stuff. They had demo discs with magazines. And I remember the Dreamcast magazine, they're like, demo disc with this game. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm going to finally get to play a little bit of this game. When the demo disc came out, it did not have the game playable. It just had a series of like a slideshow of screenshots. And the screenshots looked great, but they kind of just looked like concept art. Like I couldn't even tell if there was actually in-game graphics. I was just like, this looks too good. Like there's something about this game. This doesn't seem quite right. I think it was slightly delayed as well. And I just got this weird fear in my head. It's going to be like the new Superman 64 or something, delayed. Comes out, worst game in the world. And it finally came out. And I remember looking at the back of the box and thinking,
I almost want to try to guess, but I have no idea.
Ooh, I can tell you it was released in 2000. Had a PS2 remake in 2002, and it was not released in Japan at all. So it's only America and Europe. I can't really give you much more information because it will just give it away. Like even
is it a tactical espionage type deal, like Metal Gear Solid ripoff?
No, it is not. Although that's a great game.
I don't know. I got no clue.
Okay. Actually, just flashed up on screen just then because I accidentally moved my hand slightly too high.
I didn't see it.
Good. It is Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was just really afraid this game would not be good. And here's the thing. I wasn't a massive fan of the first Echo the Dolphin games on the Genesis or Mega Drive. I thought I kind of liked them for being a bit different, but I never really got into them. Like kind of played them a little bit. I did a few of them. I remember doing level skips to get through most of the game.
Yeah, notoriously difficult.
So hard. It's just like frustrating. You know, it was like it had sort of action moments in the original games. But yeah, it was there's something about the games that I kind of liked and wanted to like.
That did get a PS2 release. That's
it
weird.
Did, yeah. And the PS2 release is not as good as the Dreamcast one, according to every review in the world, basically. I've not actually played the PS2 version, but anyway, yeah, the game came out. I was blown away by the visuals. I mean, I actually played the game more recently because I tested it out on the Striker DC controller, and I was still actually really impressed by how good it looks. So yes, is dated in areas, but I was like, this is like Echo himself, and a lot of the underwater sea creatures look amazing. Like they're just almost perfectly recreated these underwater sea creatures. And the thing I love most about it is the whole storyline. It's just so epic. Like you think, like from the screenshots and stuff, you think you're just basically going to be going around, you know, local sea, like normal aquatic situations in the sea, in the ocean or whatever, solving puzzles. But the first few levels are like that. Have you guys played this game at all, or have you guys finished the game or got even up halfway through the game?
This was another game that I went on a splurge when I worked at GameStop, and they still don't know what they have. So if you're looking for Dreamcast underpriced, what they go for or what they're worth in the crazy secondhand selling world, do GameStop stuff because they have no idea. But short version is I have it but never played it.
Okay, Chris, did you play it or?
Yeah, I played it quite a bit back in the day, but I never remember this game because my daughters loved watching me play it, and I would just let them play because they like what you're saying. They love the underwater aspect of it. It was awesome for when it released. It was amazing. I'd never seen and played a game that kind of explored, the ocean like that, and to that degree of like graphics and visuals. Like, yeah, it was awesome for that alone.
So I take it you didn't get too far into the game, did you? Or
I can't remember any. I must not have. If I can't remember.
The game just switches everything up. It gets so crazy. Like the storyline's by I can't remember the author's name now. By David Brin. He's a science fiction author. He apparently is quite popular, especially back in the day. But he wrote the storyline, and it's actually narrated by Tom Baker, who is one of the original Doctor Who's, if you don't know that. And the story is basically about dolphins and humans have sort of come together in this world, and they're actually going off into space. But there is this alien entity called the Foe, who basically want to kill all humans and dolphins. And while we're exploring space, they leave dolphins as protectors, and Echo is one of those protectors, and they have this shield around the world. But the Foe attack us, and effectively they destroy like the part of the shield. It's up to Echo to try and help save the world, basically stop the Foe invasion and stuff. But shit goes crazy. Like there's a whole like thing about time travel and stuff. Like basically Echo goes to the future, and the Foe has taken over the entire world, and like enslaved all the dolphins. All the humans are killed and stuff. There's just some really crazy stuff going on. There's like levels where you're going through tubes of water that are floating in the sky and like jumping between bubbles of water. So you're not actually in the ocean anymore. There's other bits where you're in these underground sort of mechanical areas where the water's all like green and horrible and sludgy. And you get these other abilities to help you like move machinery and stuff around. And the game is massive. The levels are really big. You actually get to go back and visit some of them again and stuff. There's some beautiful scenery in it. It just blew my mind. I love it. And if you finish the entire game, you actually get a fun football game to play, like dolphin underwater football, which is impossible to control. I hate it, but it was just fun to like, this is kind of quirky. But yeah, this is one of those games that where the first few levels you think, this is just kind of like Echo the Dolphin but in 3D. It just ramps it all up, and it's also one of the scariest Dreamcast games I think I've played. There are some bits in it that really scared the crap out of me, like when you're getting chased by like a massive underwater electric eel thing that's like chasing after you through a tunnel and like shooting lightning at you. It's like, oh my god! Or an underwater giant prehistoric crocodile, which genuinely that was like the scary, like just swimming into this cavern, and it's just like, oh my god! like holy crap! Man. And anyway, it blew my mind. I was really afraid of playing this game, and when I finally got to play it, I was just Yeah, I love it.
I have a legitimate fear of deep water, so I wonder if I'll ever be able to play this game. And for those watching, wondering why I just looked like I was in extreme pain, I smashed my heel off my chair, and I almost it fucking hurt. Maybe I'll play this game Wednesday for my stream or something. I've been trying to play more Dreamcast games.
Oh man,
if
you do, let me know. I would actually want to watch.
Please do. I'll try and jump on.
I mean, you kind of mentioned we never really did say that all the Echo games before this were 2D. This one is 3D, full behind the dolphin view. They say.
That's the kids say these days.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's cool though.
Yeah. If you do play it, that'd be awesome. As I say, the first few levels are just kind of very similar to original Echo, but I kind of think it eases you in, and there's still some really great stuff in the first few levels. Yeah. Whew. Oh, yeah.
Eases you in. The original games do not do that. They just toss you right in there.
Yeah.
I remember Ed Nunziata in a interview or something. I think he said he purposely made Echo more difficult so that you could not beat it within a weekend's time, and you had to keep renting it or something if you hadn't bought it.
Okay.
I could be I could be misquoting, but yeah.
I feel like
which kind of makes me sad that his Big Blue game that he wanted to make, like this open world ocean game, never came to be, because if this game, like you said, is just as massive as it is, then I can't even imagine how you could make something even bigger.
Yeah, you know? It's crazy. Like, I mean, some of the areas, I guess, aren't. Well, there are some really actually big open water areas and stuff in it, but the levels themselves are actually pretty decent. I think the first couple aren't that big, but then later on, I was like, I remember just being almost stuck in levels that are massive, going, "Whoa, this isn't as big as level is." But yeah, and as I say, there are parts where you can actually go back and forth between levels as like passageways that you can then load up the previous level, because you unlock abilities and stuff as you go through. And yeah, I'm now fanboying over this game.
That's okay. The part that you mentioned about being in the sky in tubes of water made me think about a part in Panzer Dragoon Saga. So I wonder if that's why you enjoy parts of this game so much. Like, is it equivalent to that at all?
This is more challenging to go through those watery bits in the sky. I would say that you basically have to jump between bits in the sky, and the water is pushing you along as well in some of the tubes, so you kind of got to angle yourself just right because you're getting pushed, and you have to launch into like other bubbles and stuff. And it's a very challenging game, but I think once you start from the beginning, you sort of do build up your ability and skill and stuff. Because when I was testing out the Striker DC controller, I just loaded up an old game and like went to like one of the last levels, and I was like, I can do this. I played this years ago. Nope, died instantly straight away. Deaf. I was like, okay, I'm going back to the first level and try that out first to ease myself back in. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, really cool game. Love it. Yeah.
Sounds cool.
So that ends the feature this week and the end of the show. Is there anything else you guys want to add at all to the audience or the listeners or anything?
I would say start tuning in to mine and Graham's new streaming show that we're going to start doing on Friday. We like Graham said, we did Advent Rising. I think we're going to do that again for the next couple.
Yeah.
Maybe streams, just because with this game, like, we got through basically the first area, and then the second one feels even more like a Halo game, and I'm really looking forward to you, Graham, playing it, because we got the basically this version of the Warthog at the end of this last stream, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like this next stage, what you how you like it and everything, and then eventually getting unlocking the powers and stuff, because then the game really opens up. I'm excited, and I guess we'll just do all sorts of different games, but we'll start mainly doing like a lot of co-op stuff. But I wanted to start out with Advent Rising just to get your first reactions of actually playing the game.
Yeah, it was really fun, and yeah, I'm up for it. I'm up for playing a bit more, and for sure, yeah. So check it out. Check out the new stream. So I think actually now, because we mentioned on a previous show, we almost do a stream every day of the week. I think we now do it every weekday of the week, don't we? Is this right, Scotty? You're the man with the schedule. Really?
Corey's been jumping in because he was playing Doom for his magazine review. So there was a week where we had almost something every day, but it's multiple days throughout the week we do streams. Okay. So
yeah, because I feel like Chris and I were looking at a time slot and we couldn't fit it in during the week anymore because everyone seemed to be recording or streaming during the week. So I feel like we're getting there almost every day of the week.
Most of ours is in the evening, but mine and Graham's is starts around noon on Fridays. So
which for the UK is early evening, like 5 p.m. roughly. So yeah, if you're in the UK or Europe, check it out.
I'm most impressed that Graham actually got the time difference and calculation correctly, because this is the first time I've ever heard him figure out what the time from the East Coast is into like UK time. Never happened before. This is a first.
It's a very easy calculation that I do seem to screw up every time. I don't know how.
Scotty, don't even act like you've never gotten mad at Graham like miscalculating.
Hey, we're all learning new things during this pandemic, so Graham finally figured out time zones.
Which I should know. We've been doing stuff together for years now. Anyway,
true Renaissance man.
Over a decade. You've probably done stuff with him for over a decade.
I think it's closer to 2 decades now, isn't it? Because we started doing this around the Dreamcast time. Like,
you're not helping your side of the argument.
We're not. Yeah. Basically, I can't tell the time in multiple time zones, apparently. So,
right.
Anyway, brilliant. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening or whatever you're doing this on. And don't forget to tune in September the 12th for our Dreamcast 24-hour Dreamless Marathon, where we do play Dreamcast games for 24 hours. There's a group of us. We normally team up and go together and go to Scotty's house and do it, but we can't do that this year because of the whole world is falling apart type thing. So we're going to try and do it virtually. So this is going to be a fun new thing where I'm going to screw up all the streams because my internet doesn't work or something, but we'll give it a try. We'll see what happens. And it's all for charity
We also give away a Dreamcast console every year. Don't forget to tell people that.
Yes, we do give away prizes, a Dreamcast console.
Library.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. So we do, as Scotty mentioned before, Warp Zone donates a Dreamcast that we actually get to give away in a couple of games, maybe. I'm not sure if we've rested on the games yet or anything.
We'll discuss that probably in the meeting after this podcast.
Oh, fantastic. And we give away some other little bits and prizes, and we raise money for charity as well, for Extra Life, and it's a great thing. It's really fun. So, yeah, we'll probably talk a bit more about it in other shows coming up. But for now, that'll do. So, catch you later.
See ya.
Have you heard that new Cardi B video? I think it's WAP.
Oh, I've heard of something about it. But...
Oh, is that why I keep seeing WAP everywhere?
Yeah. It's for, I think, wet ass pussies.
Is that what it stands for?
Yeah.
Great. Is that the new milkshake bringing all the boys to the yard now?
Wow.
You got to watch the video.
God. Why just fucking I weep for the future of this planet.
The lyrics, Jamie, I showed it to Jamie, and then afterwards she's like, I want to actually like see what the lyrics are for this whole thing. And it is so raunchy. And I felt like I was turning red reading some of that stuff.
That goes back to like what I said a decade or so ago, when I was starting to listen to Fall Out Boy, because there's so much innuendo, but they don't swear in any of their songs, so there's no parental advisory on the liner. But I was like, there's so much bad stuff in these songs. Like, they are talking about all but saying penetration at some point. And so it's like, I'm waiting for some sort of ESRB equivalent of like, wiener jokes galore or something. I don't know. Because it's like, it's like they can get away with so much with your poetic license or whatever you want to call it, artistic license of like not saying I want to have sex with you, but damn girl, those jugs be fly. That's a quote, that's yep, I'm done. Let's start, please.
Old man Scott.